recording. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
Welcome.
Hold on. All right, we're recording over here. Everyone be quiet.
Get your farts out now. Good? Nobody's even here.
Okay.
Welcome. As we're about to go on this journey of our annual league meeting. But before we begin, I'd like to address this past season, our 2019 season, our 19th season in existence. It was a season of many firsts. We saw Millersville University, our first-year program to the league, go off and win their first title at the Division III level. We saw Pittsburgh State, who lost the Division II national championship game on their home field in 2018, avenge that loss and come back on a big run late in the season and take home the D2 national title. And the University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini, a long-time powerhouse within the NCBA, takes home the Division I World Series title on the field in Holly Springs, North Carolina. If you were following throughout the season, you would also notice that this was the first year we brought video production to our World Series. A 4-camera set and a crew of tireless workers learning the ropes on how to do video production. We were able to bring live play-by-play action accompanied with the simulcast of Ryan Norse's colorful play-by-play, and it was received with great fanfare. As we look forward to the 2020 season coming quickly upon us, I'm excited about what's in store for this organization. We're enthusiastic about what kind of enhancements we're going to be able to bring to our video capabilities now that we have a year under our belt. We're excited about the fact that the Pacific Northwest is going to have Division II club baseball for the first time in its history, providing an avenue for new teams to come up and foster growth and develop their programs and hopefully aspire to graduate to the Division I level out there at some point. And this year you'll see many fresh faces in the operations department of club baseball, new young faces, new ideas at the helm of each of our leagues to enhance our offerings to all of you out there striving to be collegiate club baseball players. So without further ado, I welcome you to the 2019-2020 NCBA Annual League Meeting. Enjoy.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you all for joining us tonight for the 20th Annual NCBA Annual League Meeting. We have a lot of important information to go over tonight, so again, I thank you for tuning in. As always, this meeting is interactive. We encourage you, if you have a question at any point during the meeting, to enter your question into the comments section of the video feed. And we want to make sure that you expand the video feed and enter your name, your team affiliation, and your question into the comments section if you do indeed have one. We have a moderator here on set that will read the question aloud, and we will do our best to answer your question live on air. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tons of important information to go over tonight. Without further ado, I'd like to get started. I also want to make sure that if you want to follow along with the meeting, with the slides. You can download those at any of the 3 NCBA websites under the headline section. You can download the slides and follow along with us during the meeting. Again, we want you guys to ask questions. We will try our best to answer the question, whoever the presenter is. But for you to ask a question, you need to type your name, your team affiliation, and your question in the comments section. And the moderator will read the question aloud, and we will try our best to answer that. Our headquarters here in Pittsburgh, 850 Ridge Avenue, Suite 301, Pittsburgh, PA 15212. If you're ever around in the Pittsburgh area, please say hello. But yeah, all mail correspondence will go to that address right there. And you can also see our main office line and our fax number, as well as the Club Baseball website. The agenda for tonight, quite a bit to go over. First, we're going to be talking about all the NCBA staff that we have here. We're going to be talking the front office. We're going to be talking regional directors. And then we're going to get into a year in review, 2018-19 season. What a year it was. So we're going to do a recap of the 2018-19 year. And then we're going to get into 2019 and 20 season. And we're really excited about this year. A lot of great things happening. So we'll get into a lot of topics with the 19-20 season and what's to come there. And then we're going to get into our breakout sessions. The breakout sessions have a ton of important information, a lot of information on different important documents that teams are going to be needing to fill out. We're also going to be talking about sponsors, fundraisers, different events. We'll obviously be touching on our regional tournaments and our postseason events last year, as well as this upcoming year. And then we'll close it out. We don't want to keep you here too long, so we'll try and get through the meeting as quickly as possible. One thing I do want to mention, if you aren't able to watch the meeting live, or maybe you have to leave in the middle of it, it will be recorded for you to view at your convenience. So we'll have that up on the Facebook page, and I also believe we'll have that on our YouTube channel for you to view as well. Yeah, so getting into our front office staff, you saw that great introduction from our president, Sandy Sanderson. Myself, Christian Smith, I'm vice president of the baseball operations. Also, right now, I'm taking over Division III as the director of baseball operations there. Eric Curator, most of you, I hope, saw, was recently promoted to the director of Division I baseball operations. Eric's worked with us for 8 years now and has done tremendous stuff at the D2 level, and he's well deserving of that promotion up to Division I. And same as Eric, Garrett Semek, apologize. He was promoted from D3 to D2. Garrett did an absolutely fantastic job running D3 last year, and he was the man without question to fill Eric's spot at the D2 level. So we're really excited about our directors at all 3 divisions. The treasurer, Sandy Sanderson Sr., it's not a coincidence. That is our boss's, Sandy Sanderson's father. Sandy has obviously been around since the inception of the league. He's been to every single Division I World Series. So he's been around, and if you want to call the accounting specialist, his assistant, Jeannie Krachala, another person that just does such great work for us with invoicing. So if you're getting an invoice, it's usually coming, I know it's probably coming from Intuit QuickBooks, but she's the one that's actually getting those out. So she does a great job with a lot of our accounting things going on. Sports information director. He's behind the scenes. He's amazing. He's been here a short time. Ben Karpinski. He's done such great work in the short time we've been here. He's running the show tonight and doing a fantastic job so far. We'll find out if he can keep that up for the remainder of this meeting, but so far so good. The Rawlings sponsor account manager, the game sponsor account manager, and the Marucci sponsor account manager. You have Trent, Felicia, and Alec. Felicia will be here to present later in the presentation when we're talking the game headwear, and Alec will also be on to talk Marucci, but they'll give you some great information on hats, baseball bats, so you should look forward to their presentation on those different sponsors. Director of Spring Training Operations and the fundraising sponsor account manager is Tracy. She's not going to be here tonight to present, but Tracy has done fantastic job expanding our spring training showcase. For years and years and years, we were only on the East Coast down in Tampa. She has spearheaded a great effort getting the spring training showcase out to the West, which is something that we've been trying to do for many, many years, and she's been great, not only getting it out there in the West, but also expanding it not only into Henderson, where we had been for a few years, but we also got into Mesquite, Nevada as well. So we have 2 events out there. The teams both really love. Our growth is just growing exponentially, so we're really excited about spring training, and we will be talking more about that also later in the meeting. The Division I Rules Committee team rep, Joe Karachi. You may or may not know his name, but Joe, I thought, did an absolutely fantastic job at this past year's rules meeting. Just really was a great advocate for the teams, which he should be. We will get into more about the rules later, not only these rules that were passed for this past year that you played under, but we'll also go into the rules that we passed for this upcoming season. So Joe did a great job this past year as the Division I Rules Committee rep. And then Chad Lowe, he's been around the game, the NCBA, for many years, probably longer than even I. So he knows the game inside and out. Again, just like Joe, a fantastic advocate on the team's behalf at the Division II level, but just overall, just a fantastic advocate. So really liked having those guys on board this year. And then last but not least, our Director of Umpires, Ryan Hastings. Ryan also, I think he's been around for 13 years, same amount as I have. Working our World Series events. He's been to just about, I think, every D1 World Series. So he's familiar with the NCBA rules, NCAA rules, obviously. So he's great that we have him on board as a director of umpires. I want to get into our Division I regional director staffing. In the North Atlantic, it's a new one, Eric Curator. He's actually taken over for me, who was formerly running the North Atlantic. The North Atlantic teams are in great hands with Eric, who is, as I said, has been around for a long time. The Mid-Atlantic, once again, this will be his second year running it. Garrett Seamek, who's done great work out there in the Mid-Atlantic. The South Atlantic, you have Tracy Reardon, another girl that's been with our organization for many years, has run that region for several years now, and we hear nothing but good things from those teams, a part of the South Atlantic region. Joe Schaefer, he'll be in his second year running the Great Lakes. Again, just a tremendous job from Joe this past year, really upgraded our field, regional field in the Great Lakes, which I know the teams were really excited about as a turf field, and up in that area it's almost necessary to have one of those. So Joe's been doing great work. Ryan Norris, I know everybody knows Ryan Norris. Ryan Norris is just an amazing person to have on our staff as a volunteer. He spends countless hours just being a big fan of the NCBA and trying to make the NCBA as best as it can be. He's obviously the voice of Cole Club Sports at our Division I World Series. I know that's where most people know him from, but the NCBA would not be what it is today without the services of Ryan Norris, who is a volunteer, and we can't express how much of importance he is to our organization. Evan Ford, another volunteer. I can't speak highly enough of our volunteers. They are what they are. They're not getting paid. They are just, being a part of our organization because they want to be a part of it. They love club baseball. Evan was a former player at Colorado School of Mines that I got to know really well at a couple World Series events that they participated in. And when the Mid-America was up for finding a new regional director, he was one of the first guys I reached out to because I loved his passion, and he's been doing great work out in the Mid-Atlantic. Dave Stahl, he ran the North Atlantic this past year. Dave is somebody that has shown this past year was absolutely incredible running the North Atlantic. He really took it by the reins. I know the teams really respected how he kind of took the reins and took the region on. and was a great communicator with the teams and really made that conference, or I should say that region, a really great one. We're happy to have Dave back for this upcoming season. And then last but not least, Zach Ramirez running the South Atlantic region. Zach had his first year running that region this past year, and he did a fantastic job. So we're really, really excited about the guys we have in place at the Division I level. They've done great work, and we hope that for the upcoming year they're going to keep doing that. And as far as the D2 staff, same thing goes. We're really excited the people that we have in place, a lot of which have been around for a very long time. With Garrett being promoted to the Director of Division II Baseball Operations, you see his name on there a couple times. Right now, he's in charge of the Chesapeake, the New England, and the Rocky Mountain. Formerly the Rocky Lone Star. We have some realignment that we put into place that we will talk about later, but that name went from Rocky Lone Star to the Rocky Mountain region. But as you can see, next to all the names, next to Garrett's names, we're looking for volunteers for any of those three regions. I know he has somebody in mind for one of the regions, but it's a great resume builder. It's also a great way to stay involved with the league. So if it's something that you're interested in becoming a regional director, we need obviously some guys at the D2 level. Please reach out to Garrett, and he can kind of walk you through the expectations, the day-to-day, what you're responsible for doing, and it's really rewarding. You stay involved with baseball. So if you're interested in any of those positions, please reach out to Garrett. In the Dixie, we have Stephen Baker. Stephen has been around, I would say, at least 5 or 6 years, and he's been an absolute, just a great person to have on board for our organization as a volunteer. Again, just doing it because he loves the game of baseball. He loves the NCBA. He's a former player, as well as Gary Robinson and Jeff Bober and Alec Verhoff. But in regards to Gary Robinson, he's been a fantastic person for us to have on board. He's been to, I want to say, most of the Division II World Series as the official scorekeeper there. So he does great work. Jeff Bober's been around for a very long time as a volunteer. So again, I can't emphasize him as any more than our volunteers. We love you guys. We really rely on you guys, and we wouldn't be able to operate without you. So we appreciate all your work. We really do, and I know the teams appreciate it as well. In the Great American, we have Alec Verhoff, who was formerly in the Rocky Lone Star with a little small realignment. Alec being from that area, from the Jefferson City, Missouri area, he seemed to be a perfect fit after the realignment to run that region. I'm sure he's introduced himself to all those teams out there. And in the Pacific, Mike Smith, former Arizona State University player, I believe, another guy that just was eager to get involved. And, when we see that eagerness of wanting to be involved, it excites us. And he did great work out there last year, and I know he even came out to the D2 World Series. D3, you see my name on there a lot. Again, very similar to Garrett. If you want to get involved as a Division 3 district coordinator, please reach out to me. We have 3 openings right now. As far as the D3, it's more of a email communication, phone call communication. As of right now, we don't host, as a league, we don't host the regional playoffs, or I should say the district playoffs. So you wouldn't be required to get out there to those playoffs, which are a best-of-3 series. We're going to get there to a point where we're at the D2 and D1 level. But, yeah, if you want to get involved somehow, even if it's not a regional director, please reach out to us. We always have some things that we can certainly use some help on, so we'd love to hear from you. Alec also is doing double duty in D2 and D3, and he's also the District 4 coordinator of Division 3. So, again, just want to let you know, if you're maybe just joining us tonight, you can download the meeting slides at clubbaseball.org, and just scroll towards the bottom of the page. You'll see a headline section, and it should be the first headline right there, League Meeting Slides. Click the link, and there will be another link in there where you can click on it and download the slides to follow along. So, want to get into this past year, 2018 season. It was a fantastic season. A lot of great things happened. I know Sandy touched on a lot of things in the introduction, but the types of things we're going to be going over is the growth of the NCBA, where we were this past year, where we expect to be, the rule changes that were implemented for this past year. Again, we will go over the rules that we are implementing for this upcoming season, but we also wanted to touch on some important rules that were put in place this past year. And then we'll also talk about the realignment that has happened, again, 2018-19 season. We will get into the realignment for the 19-20 season later in the presentation. If you can see this chart on your screen, this is our growth that we have seen the past few years, or since our inception, 2001. We have steadily grown. Our first year, 34 teams, and this year we're up to 306. Obviously, a nice steady rise. We did take a small step back this year, but we are really excited. We're going to be talking about the new teams that have come on board for this upcoming year. We're really excited to get back onto a trend that we're going to be, adding more teams than we're losing. But this was just a small step backwards, but we're really excited about our progress for the future. So our trajectory's looking really, really good. So we're really excited about where we're at right now. And, I know stay tuned to our social media and seeing all these new teams that are coming on board. Garrett, the director of new team development, has been doing great work adding new teams and also limiting the teams that we've been losing, just working with those teams that might be struggling. So we're retaining our team retentions 99.5%, I think, this past year, which is really, really great. So this is another nice little chart to kind of see our state representation. Again, this was this past year, the 2019 state representation. We were in 45 states, with one international country being the University of Windsor in Canada. I'll touch on it a little bit later, but we are up to 46 states. We added the University of Maine for this upcoming year, so we are actually in 46 states. The only two states that we're missing in the lower 48 is New Mexico and Vermont. And we are optimistic that we're going to have at least one of those states next year, and hope to have all lower 48 states in the NCBA in the coming years. Obviously, Alaska and Hawaii are not member states, but who knows, maybe in a couple years we can get a Hawaii conference out started. So stay tuned for that, but I would think that's some years away. And then just to take a look, here's our where we kind of stand in front or against other NCAA or college baseball leagues, I should say. Sorry. You'll see we're almost in the middle right there. D1, 138 teams we had last year, D2, 130, and then in D3, 38. And it looks like we have our first question of the evening.
Rich Warnall wants to know if there's Division III coming out west.
Rich, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we want to get out west. It's just not out there yet. We're really, really excited about what we were able to accomplish with a Division II conference in the Northern Pacific region of the country. And yeah, right now it's just the more teams that are joining are more East Coast-based teams. And yeah, we will just expand westward. And in a few years, yeah, we will absolutely have Division III out west. It's certainly what we're hoping to accomplish in the coming years. This year, don't think we're past the Mississippi River or west of the Mississippi River, but yeah, it is a goal to expand, to add more teams, and get out there out west with Division III. So that is certainly something that we hope to happen in the near future. Another one. Go ahead, Alec.
Logan Catch is wondering if there's going to be Division III rankings.
Right now, we don't have Division III top 20 rankings. We later in the presentation, we've talked about, I know Nick Strong at Houston Downtown really wants us to implement a lot more awards, the leading batting average, top home runs, giving awards out for that, and that's something that we're hoping to do this past year because it's easy to implement. But yeah, it's certainly something that we want to have at the Division III level. I think our main focus from our standpoint is more about growing Division III first, and once we start getting more teams, we will certainly have a top 15, a top 20. This past year, I think we had 38 teams, so to have a top 20 for Division III, might not be the best idea that year, but having the top 20 out of 38 teams. So as we grow, we will certainly offer those types of things at the Division III level. Just this upcoming season, we will not have a top 20 for Division III. Now, I want to get into the rules. And again, these are rules that were put in place last year. So you played under this rule, all these rules this past year, but we felt it's important to kind of go over a few that we felt important to relay to make sure that all teams know that they are in fact rules. So I just have a few. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I will go over some that were put into place this past year. I believe I have the ones, excuse me, underlined that we'll be going over. But one was, go ahead, Alec. Do you have a question?
Paul Scibelli from University of Tampa wants to know if wood bats are permitted.
Absolutely. You can use wood bats. You can use composite bats in any NCBA sanctioned baseball game. And if you're looking to buy a bat, I would certainly and highly recommend going to the Marucci store. We will talk about that when Alec comes on board. But if you're a fan of Marucci bats or a fan of inexpensive bats that are high quality Marucci, you're not going to find a better price than our store that we offer through Marucci. So if you're looking to buy some bats, Alec will get more into it. But yes, wood bats, wood composite bats are eligible for any NCBA sanctioned baseball game. Go ahead. Coming in.
Drew Roy from Pitt State was wondering about the process we go through when adding new teams, how we do it, if we just reach out to universities, what the process is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We're at a level, the NCBA, and not to sound arrogant, but we're at a level where teams know about us. And if a guy is at a university that doesn't have a club baseball team, it's an easy Google search, club baseball, and we're usually the first organization that pops up. So we do a lot of selling and recruiting, and Garrett does that as his job. He'll go out and find certain areas to recruit where we may be lacking some teams. But yeah, that's Garrett's job. He's there reaching out to teams. We have teams that have folded in years past, and we're reaching out to them. We have quite a bit of spreadsheet and organizational materials in our computers that we keep everything. Any team that has dropped out for years and years and years, maybe it was 10 years ago they dropped out, we have them in a database. So we're always checking, and if we always ask if you have a buddy, maybe you played high school baseball with, and you have a buddy that's going to a school that doesn't have a club baseball team, that wants to start one at his university, Garrett is there to walk you through the entire process, because I know as a college student it might be a little overwhelming as a freshman, getting to school and classes and things like that. But our job is to make your job as easy as possible when it comes to starting a club baseball team. So Garrett can touch more on that. He's more involved. But yes, certainly, we have different tactics on gaining more teams into the NCBA. Another one coming in. I like it.
Piggybacking off of that, Jacob Betson wants to know if there's more teams in the Oklahoma and Kansas area that are being targeted for expansion.
Yeah, and we will get into shortly, I believe it's after we go over these rules, a few teams out there. University of Oklahoma, obviously a big school that, why they aren't a club, they don't have a club baseball presence in our league is kind of shocking. But yeah, they're a team that has reached out to us. A few students very recently have reached out to us, so we're hoping that University of Oklahoma will be coming on board. I know John Brown in the state of Arkansas is a team that's going to be coming on board. As far as Kansas goes, I'm just not as familiar as Garrett's recruiting efforts, but I know for a fact Oklahoma is a team that we are hoping to join here shortly. So if you know of any club baseball teams out there, I know there are, that aren't in the NCBA, please let us know. We would love to talk to those teams and get them on board. Obviously, the more teams we get, more tight geographically the conference are less travel, saving on budget. So that's our goal. But yeah, please be our eyes and ears out there. If you know of a club baseball team, we would love to know about them. So yeah, want to get into some rules that we implemented this past year. I don't want to spend too much time on them because you played under them this past year, but the ones that we'll be going over, I believe, are underlined on your screen there. The first being changing rules for moving players between D1 and D2 and D2 and D3 teams. A change that was suggested was 3 players being able to play on both teams during the same season. For D1 and D2, that did not pass, but for D2, going to D2 and D3 teams, which, again, these are teams that have both a D2 team and a D3 team, which I think the only team was University of Rhode Island this past year. If they wanted to have 3 players on both rosters at the same time, they were permitted to do that. Normally at the D1 and D2 level, once a player's moved down to D2 or a player's moved up to D1, they are no longer eligible to compete for the team that they just left. So at the D2 to D3 level, we had a team say, we have, a nice solid D2 team, but our D3 team, lacks players week to week. It would be nice if we could have some D2 players play on the D3 team. So we granted that rule. It passed 5 votes to 1. So if you do have a D2 team and a D3 team, which I believe is only University of Rhode Island, you can have up to 3 players on both D2 and D3 at the same time. Alec?
Norman Doyle is wondering if there is a possibility for a World Series out west.
Norm, what's up? Good to hear from you. Yeah, Norm, I mean, first and foremost, if there's a venue out west, I mean, obviously we're an East Coast based company. We're more familiar with teams on the East Coast. But a lot of things go into our decision-making process when selecting World Series venues. And one of the biggest one is financially, as a league, can we make that happen? We know we have a lot of representation out west, and we don't want to feel that they're being slighted in any way. But we definitely, for our World Series events, want to put out the best product possible. And when you're talking about that, this past year at the D1 World Series, you saw how amazing the video production was. All those things cost money, and this past year brought a staff of 14 people out to the event, the D1 World Series event. So if we're talking out west, we're in Pittsburgh, Kansas at D2, but if we're talking even more out west, Arizona obviously has a ton of facilities with their spring training homes for MLB teams. So there's venues out there. It just really comes down to financials for our league and getting an entire staff, flights, rental cars, those types of things. And that's the biggest deterrent for us right now. If we're spending money on flights, we might not be able to spend the money on the production, the equipment, and things like that. So it's certainly something we are looking into. And again, we don't want the West teams to feel slighted that the World Series have primarily been held on the East Coast. But again, it's come down to financials, quality of venue, and we really feel Ting Stadium has served as an excellent venue the last 3 years. So, it's something, if there's a venue out there you think would be a great place for us to host, we'd love to hear about it. But thank you for the question, Norm. Also, courtesy runners. The rule was brought up, a suggestion, courtesy runners for a catcher and probably the pitcher with 2 outs in the inning. And I think that was a Division II request, a Division I only request, and we decided against adding the courtesy runner altogether, so that did not pass. But we did get into re-entry, and 2 years ago, re-entry was allowed at the Division II level. We decided we wanted to get rid of re-entry at the Division II level, so that was also put into place this past year. And courtesy runners were still permitted at the D2 level. Off-field protests before the first pitch, and Rule 5.04.0 is talking about ineligible players, and this has been a hot topic for many years. Players that have a roster online that are playing a guy that is not on that roster online. We 2 years ago put a rule into place that if you want to protest that a guy is not listed on the roster, that has to happen at ground rules. What we're trying to accomplish there is getting the problem fixed at the time, not after the fact, but at the time. So at ground rules, when you're exchanging lineup cards, take your time and maybe hand the lineup card to your assistant coach and tell the assistant coach, hey, verify this with the roster. If somebody's not on the roster that's on this lineup card, let's talk to the umpire and the opposing team so that they can correct it. So we put that rule in place 2 years ago. Last year it was brought up, hey, let's change that back to an off-field protest so that you could protest that after the game. We decided against that, but we did want to provide a little more leniency there. And what we did was put a rule into place that if you find an ineligible player after ground rules, maybe it's the third inning and you notice the guy coming to the plate isn't on the roster online, you can bring that up with the umpire and the opposing team. The opposing team's head coach, designated head coach, and that player will be ejected from the contest, but all the statistics, all the records up until that point stay intact. So if it's, the ninth inning and you find out all these, game is going down as recorded up until that point. So we put that in place so that if you don't find it at ground rules, you found it later in the game, you can still, don't have to protest it. You just bring it up with the opposing team, the umpire, and say this guy's not on the roster. By rule, you're ejected, head coach and the player. But up until that point, all the stats stay in place. Winners bracket. Next, I believe 3 rules are in regards to our regional playoffs. Our winners bracket game at all regionals be game 3 instead of game 4. Little background, the typical schedule for all of our regional tournaments, at least at the D1 and D2 level, 2 games Friday, 3 games Saturday, and then 1, maybe 2 games on Sunday. We found one of our great volunteers found some great statistical data, historical data, showing that normally in years past, game number 3 was the losers bracket game, and then game number 4 was the winners bracket game. He found it was a detriment. That schedule was a detriment to the winners bracket teams. So we voted on having the winners bracket game actually being game 3 instead of game 4. And what that allows is the winners bracket team that loses game 3 actually has time. There's the losers bracket game, so they have a game off and then they come back on. So that was put into place this past year. So game 3 is now the winners bracket game, and game 4 is the losers bracket game, and then game 5 on Saturday is the winner of the losers bracket game and the loser of the winners bracket game. Absolutely. Let's hear the question, Alec.
Jimmy Griffiths wants to know how Division III playoffs work.
It's a good question, and I'm going to be completely honest. I still have to review that process, but it's going to be Division III is 2 conferences, and the conference winners move on to the district playoff, and it's a best of 3. It's basically just a series. Whoever wins 2 out of 3. But I believe the conference winner that has the best conference winning percentage hosts that series, and we help facilitate getting umpires, finding a field if that's necessary. But that team hosts the 3-game series, and if you win the first 2, you don't even need to play that third. But yeah, that's how the general breakdown of how Division III playoffs work. So the World Series is a 4-team playoff, double elimination playoff, very similar to D1 regionals where it's played during a weekend. Getting back to the rules that were put in place this past year, and again, this goes into regionals. Game length consistent for all regionals, whether it's 7 or 9, and if not, consistency on how game lengths were adjusted due to weather. We have an extremely short time frame to get these regional playoffs played. It's one weekend. We've gone into Monday before, but we're on an extremely tight schedule. If weather comes, we can be in trouble. We have to adjust schedules. We have to, and by rule, the regional director is able to say, hey, this game's going to be a 7-inning game, or this game is going to be a 9-inning game. There's no rhyme and reason to it, other than that has to be decided before the game starts. But our rules committee rep, our teams wanted more consistency at that level across all 8 regionals. So what was put into place, if weather affects something and a team has the possibility of playing 3 full baseball games in a day, all games that day are 7-inning games. So that's usually the game 5, 6, and that if necessary game on 7. So, if one team is in game 5, they win that one and they move on to the championship game, then they win that next one, there's a possibility of them playing 3 games in a day. If that is ever the case, all those games will be 7-inning games. That was just to provide more consistency. And then the last thing we decided regarding regionals was the number 1 seed team for the regional tournament. They have their choice to play the first or second game on Friday. So all the number 1 seeds had those choices to make. So that was put in place as well. The D2 regionals moved to the first weekend in May. This is, talk to Eric. I was a hot button issue with me. In years past, the year before, we had moved the D2 regionals up a week. So they were at the end of April. And obviously that shortened the regular season. Not as much time to play baseball. Spring's already short with Easter, spring breaks. So not a lot of teams got games in. I know there was teams that were winning conferences with five games played, I think, 5-7 games, and a lot of forfeits throughout the course of the year. So we decided to move the regionals back to the first weekend in May. The reason we wanted to move them back to April, that was just to afford, if there's inclement weather that weekend, we did have a buffer weekend. But the downside was that we're cutting an entire weekend out of the season. So we moved that back to the first weekend in May, which I thought was a great decision on the rules committee part. Team base coach helmets must match each other to mirror the D1 rule. This is a D2 rule. A lot of our rules are put in place to provide legitimacy to our league. We want our league to not look like a beer league. This is a competitive, high-class, legitimate organization, and our teams, we want them to reflect that. So we put into place, and you'll see a lot of D2 teams now with Division III started. A lot of D2 rules will be put in place to mirror D1 because the D2 teams are elevated, the competition's elevated, so we want that division to reflect that. D2 helmets, base and team, they all must match in color. That passed unanimously 6-0. And then for catcher's gear, for the 1920 season at the Division I level, which is this upcoming year, all catchers the catcher's gear has to match team colors or be white, black, or gray. And the reason that was put into place, catchers might have a summer league team that's green, and they're wearing green catcher's gear, but when they go back to school, their team's, navy and gold. and the guy's wearing green catcher's gear. Again, just to provide that sense of legitimacy, we felt it was a good look that your catcher's gear has to match your team colors or be white, black, or gray. And it's not hard because all D1 and D2 teams have the opportunity to get complimentary catcher's gear. So that shouldn't be an issue at all at D1 for this year. And again, trying to get D2 to match the legitimacy of Division 1. In 2020-2021, catcher's gear, same thing, has to match the team colors or be white, black, or gray. So that both those rules went into play. That's not affected for D2 until next year. Question?
CSU Pueblo is wondering when schedules will be sent out.
You should have. I'm in charge of Division 3 with you guys at the Division 2 level. I believe they have all been sent out, the schedule request form, so I'm hoping that that's filled out. Garrett would have a better sense of when his plan of getting the schedules pumped out to the website, but I know he's been working on that, and I would honestly expect to have your conference schedule here in the next week, next couple weeks. I would say 7 to 10 days at the very most. But Garrett can certainly reach out to you and be in communication with you on when those schedules will be posted to the website. You have another one, Alec?
Maggie Gallagher from University of Washington is wondering if we will line up schools that are on quarter systems versus semester systems in the future due to scheduling purposes.
I'm not very, I understand the quarter systems, and most schools out west are on the quarter systems. Not exactly sure how it differs schedule-wise with the teams that are on the semester system. I believe the quarter system has longer breaks. I know they certainly go later into the year. I know Oregon one year made the World Series, and they were or even last year, Oregon State, I had to proctor a test at the D1 World Series, which is at the end of May. So if you can shoot me an email and provide a little more detail on your question, sorry I'm not giving you the best answer right now. But yeah, if you could shoot me an email, christian.smith@callclubsports.com, I can certainly give you hopefully a better answer than I'm giving to you right now. Thank you for your question, Maggie. Getting into realignment, and again, this is last year. This is the realignment that happened last year. And what I really like, and you'll see even next year, is, there's a lot of text on this slide, but it's not a lot of movement. It's really a lot of one-for-one moves, and that is our goal at the Division I level, and it's our goal at the Division II level to, provide the division, structure year to year where things aren't changing much. And what's that build? That builds rivalries. That builds, what teams are going to be in your conference. That helps you budget better. What teams are going to be there. The schedule and things like that. So it's nice seeing these realignment slides, it seems, every year get smaller and smaller. And you'll see when we talk about realignment at the Division I level for 1920, it's an extremely small slide on it as far as moves. But, just to touch on these, the Gulf Coast, we added Houston Community College to the Gulf Coast East. They had a fantastic year. They came up from D2. They actually made the regional tournament as the at-large selection. I think they had a really nice tournament out in Euless, Texas in the Gulf Coast Regional. So they did a great job. In the North Atlantic, it was just simply a swap. Hofstra University dropped down to Division II, and St. Joe's University took their place in the North Atlantic East. And Northern Pacific, again, one of the upsetting things was we had two teams leave at the Division II level, in the Northern Pacific region, Latter-day Saints Business College and Southern Oregon University. And those types of things shouldn't be happening at the Division I level. We shouldn't have teams be dropping out. And what we're really excited about, we'll touch on a little bit later, is how excited we are that we were able to open a Division II region in the Northern Pacific area. So that is really going to help develop teams that are struggling out there. The NOPAC is one of the toughest regions in the country. I know Norm's watching, 2-time national champion. Shout out, Oregon's won a national championship in very recent years, but that region's very top heavy, and the teams below, haven't been able to compete at their level. But they are playing, they are organized, they're great programs. But with us opening up Division II, it's just going to help out so much in that area. Get these teams in Division II where they're competing week after week. And then once they come back, once they're ready to get to Division I, they're going to be that much better, which is just going to make that region so much better. So we're really, really excited about that. So, yeah, we had Latter-day Saints Business College drop out, Southern Oregon University drop out. Again, we hope that we can get these teams back with the Division II opened up out there. But with those teams dropping out, Western Washington University moved over from the north to the west, and that went from an 18 region to a 16 region. But that was a very small move just due to those teams losing. In the South Atlantic, again, you see a lot of text there, but not a lot of movement. It was just Georgia Tech moved from the east over to the south, and there was a void obviously in the east, and we used the University of Tennessee Knoxville moved into their place. And then South Florida, a team where we had only 5 teams in that South Atlantic South, we had an opening, and they were a team that just was so excited about getting to Division I, and that's what we want. Teams, we want to develop this culture where teams want to get up to Division I. Division II teams want to get up to Division I. Division III teams want to get up to Division II. So they were one of those teams that they didn't auto-qualify to move up, but they said, Christian, we want to get in D1. We want to compete against these teams, and we love to see that. Lastly, Vanderbilt dropped to Division II, and then Georgia Tech took their place in that West Conference. So, yeah, not a lot of moves there either. Southern Pacific Conference, a lot of just one-for-one moves. St. Mary's College dropped down to Division II, and they were replaced by San Jose State University. And then in the SoPac North, University of San Diego, that move took place in the north. And then in the south, the University of San Diego dropped to Division II and was replaced by San Diego State, which was the 2018 Division II national champion. Question.
Nick Strong out of UHD is wondering if the NCBA allows schools to give kids scholarships to play.
Absolutely, yeah. That's if your school has that ability to give players scholarships, yeah, you're absolutely free to do that. And I know teams have, I believe, done that in the past. So yeah, take advantage of that. If you have the funds to provide scholarships and an effort to recruit, you can absolutely do that, Nick. And thank you for joining us, Nick. In the Mid-Atlantic, George Washington, again, just a one-for-one. George Washington moved down to Division II, and we got Longwood in their place in the Mid-Atlantic North. And then last, again, just replacements, one-for-one replacements. Minnesota State Moorhead dropped to Division II, and they were replaced by South Dakota State in the Mid-America North. And then Kansas State dropped down to Division II, was replaced by Truman State in the Mid-America South Conference. So a lot of words on there, maybe not a lot of words, but very small movement at the Division I level, and year after year you're going to see this list get smaller and smaller, so we're really, really excited about that. Division II, I just touched on it. Division II is starting to solidify itself. It's not in years past you're having teams drop out, you're having all the new teams come in, so conferences are changing, there's a lot of realignment taking place. With Division III opening up, it's just making Division II that much stronger, solid program all around. So this list, extremely small. We touched on the first point there, South Dakota State, Truman State, San Diego State, St. Joe's, Tennessee, San Jose State, Longwood, Houston CC. All those teams moved up to Division I. And then again, we talked about Moorhead, San Diego, Hofstra, Vanderbilt, George Washington, Kansas State, and St. Mary's moving from D2 to D1, or down to into D2 from D1. We added Adrian College, which was the first ever Division III national champion, into Division II, as well as New Hampshire, who had a fantastic year. I believe they were in the national championship game, lost to Adrian, but they were a very, very good program and a D2 worthy program. And quite honestly, I would see them in Division I not too shortly. And Newman also all moved up to D2 from D3. And then this is the point that we're talking about. Aside from teams moving in or out of D2 from D1 and D3, the 2018-19 season featured the fewest ever moves needed within realignment. So that's what we want. That is our goal, especially at the Division I D2 level. We want to build those rivalries, to have your conference be the same every year, the schedule flip-flopping. That's just going to give you the ability to budget better. You know who your opponents are every single year. So that's what we're seeing. We're really excited about it. And, hopefully it's the trend that continues. And, once Division III gets bigger and bigger, which we expect, we hope for that to happen at that level as well. As far as Division III alignment, we talked a lot about, these moves because there's a lot of interchanging between D1 and D2 and D2 and D3. But, yeah, we moved New Hampshire up to D2. Colgate was a Division II team that moved down and took their place. We also added LaSalle from D2 to the South District. And Millersville, the 2019 NCBA Division III champions, a first-year program. I believe that's the first time that has ever happened. They moved into the South District as a new team. And again, this was this past year, but they were moved into the South District as a new team, and then added Marist and North District as a new team as well. In the District 2 Conference, Hobart was added to the East, and we moved Adrian College, who was the 2018 D3 National Championship, up to Division 2. As far as Division 3 went, we added Lander to D2 to the North District, and VMI, Wake Forest to the north as new teams. Added Georgia College and North Georgia to the south as new teams. And then lastly, Milwaukee School of Engineering went from the South District to the north, and we added DePaul from D2 to the South District, and also added Duluth to the North District as a new team. So you see a lot of new team on there. That's just going to happen. All of our teams by rule have to start at the Division III level. They prove themselves. They want to get up to the D2 level. We have auto promotion rules that they can apply for, or that they can hit and get into Division II. If they simply just want to get into Division II, they can certainly apply for that. So that was the realignment that happened this past year. Again, if you're just joining us, we've had some great questions so far. If you want to ask a question, please write your name, your team affiliation, and your question into the comments section, and we will try our best to answer the question live. Now, I also just want to we just capped off the 18-19 season. I want to say congratulations to Millersville University. Great job being a first-year program, winning the Division III National Championship. Pittsburgh State winning the Division II National Championship in their hometown of Pittsburgh, Kansas. Congratulations to them. And the University of Illinois' first time ever national champions. I've been around, a member of our league probably since its inception. I've been to several World Series, but finally we're able to capture their first ever World Series. So I want to say congratulations to all three of those teams. Job well done. And now let's get into the 19-20 season. Hopefully you guys can repeat, but I know there's a lot of teams that have your the bullseye on your back. So the 19-20 season, what's to come? Topics we're going to be going over, new teams. We'll also be talking on the realignments in each division for this upcoming season, and then we'll talk about rules committee topics and the rules that were put in place for this 19-20 season, and then we're going to get into our breakout sessions. Again, I hope you're sticking around, tuning in, finding this information informative. But again, if you have to leave and come back, all of this is going to be recorded. It'll be featured on all of our Facebook pages as well as archived on YouTube. So don't worry, you won't miss much. If you won't miss anything if you need to walk away from the computer. Getting into the new teams. We're really excited about several of these teams. We have 10 officially signed for the 1920 season. Some nice names on that list. Southern New Hampshire University, Mary Baldwin, Stony Brook, the University of Massachusetts Lowell, Dickinson College, Auburn University, University of Tampa, University of Maine, and I have New State there. That puts us at 46 in the lower 48. And then we have University of Michigan, Flint, and Central Washington. Obviously, Auburn, I know when I was the director of team development, Auburn was one of those teams that I always wanted to get into the league. They're obviously a football powerhouse. They're a very good baseball program at the NCAA level, and I know even at the NCAA basketball level. So big name university that we're really excited to have on board. But they're a new team. They have to start at the Division III level. If they prove themselves, they can certainly move up to Division II and hopefully see a team like Auburn University at the Division I level as well. And touched on it a little bit earlier, University of Maine being a new state. We're really excited about them coming on board, and they're going to be, the 46th state that we have added. So excited about that. And then the last one I want to touch on, Central Washington University. Really, really, really excited to get them on board. They were a big help in us being able to open up the Division II conference in the Northern Pacific region. So really happy to get them on board, and I hope they're going to have a great experience. So we're really happy to have them in the NCBA. These are the teams that have verbally committed to participate. And when I say verbally committed, that's exactly what it means. They have said, yes, we are in. We will get you our paperwork and our new team registration fee, and those are basically the only things we're waiting on. But they have told us they will be in, so you can pretty much count that Virginia Commonwealth University, Franklin Pierce, and John Brown will be members of the NCBA for this upcoming 2019 and 20 season as well. And then as far as teams expressing interest, Garrett's still talking to a lot of teams, and I would expect him, we hope that he's able to add quite a few more teams for this upcoming season. We know the fall season's getting underway soon, but a lot of these schools are in situations where their season might not start till February 1st. But a lot of great names on there as well. Duke University, a former NCBA team that has taken a few years off that we're hoping to get back. American University, same thing. Hartwick College, same thing. Old Dominion, same thing. Sam Houston State, the team that a few years ago when we were down in Fort Myers for our Division I World Series participated in it. So it's a proud program that has had to take a few years off, but we have been working to try and get Sam Houston State back into the NCBA this season. And from the talks with Garrett, it sounds like that's going to be a possibility for this year. And then as I touched on, I forget who asked the question, but University of Oklahoma. I know we've gotten several students reaching out to us about getting a team started at the University of Oklahoma. They would be an absolute awesome add. And then obviously University of California, Santa Cruz was a former team in our league, and we're hoping to get them back as well. So if you had, I think it was Drew Roy, if you have any leads on new teams out there, send them our way. Garrett's CMEX, the director of new team development. Garrett.cmec@colclubsports.com. His name's on the website. But yeah, we want to grow this league. So we need your help being the eyes and ears. We're based in Pittsburgh, so having 306 teams all across the country is a great advantage for us, and we hope that you would help us out. If you know of any new teams, please let us know, and we would love to speak with them about getting them into the NCBA. Here we go. Touching on this earlier, that's a small list right there. Really, really excited about what happened. We have realignment meetings in the past. It's, days, weeks, takes a long, long time. We're really, really happy with how things panned out this year. I mean, there's 3 bullet points on that screen right now. Mid-America, only move was Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville dropped, and we put in Pittsburgh State, the D2 national champions, in their place. Just a 1-for-1 swap. Simple as that. North Atlantic, same thing. Syracuse dropped, and SUNY Binghamton took their place. So very, very small moves, one-for-one moves in two regions. And then the Northern Pacific, which is the most movement we had, but fantastic movement, is Washington State, Portland State University, the University of Washington, and the University of Idaho all moved down to Division II. They joined Central Washington University to form that Division II conference. They're now in the Rocky Mountain region, and they're going to be in a region with teams in Colorado, where that regional probably takes place in the Idaho area, probably southeastern Ohio, I think was ideally the best spot. But that's all the changes we had at D1. And again, I want to touch on it again. That is our goal. We want D1 to be solidified year after year. So you know who your conference is, you know who your opponents are. You're building those, competitive rivalries. That helps you budget. Year after year, we're going to this team, and this team. It just is a huge benefit and something we're extremely proud of, and it's just proving to us, our divisional system's really, really working. So really, really excited about that small movement at the Division I level for this upcoming season. And again, if you have any questions about, realignment, the website's updated. So if you can go to I think the easiest way to just check it quickly is if you go to the contact page of the website and scroll down, there's a nice little list of where all the teams break down. Getting into D2 realignment going into this year. Again, said it before, a lot of text on there. Probably do a better job of kind of paring that down, but not a ton of movement at the D2 level. Certainly more than D1, but not too much. In the Chesapeake, we dropped Johns Hopkins to D3, and we added Millersville, who won the D3 national championship, to take their place. So that was just a one-for-one move. And we moved Penn from the North Conference to the South Conference, Stevenson from the Central Conference to the South Conference, moved Lafayette and Lehigh from the New England region to the North Conference, and moved James Madison from the South Conference to the Dixie region. So not massive changes. Yes, certainly teams maybe have joined a different region, or there might be some new teams in your conference, but for the most part, things stayed the same. In the Dixie, added Tampa as a new team to the South Conference. Tampa, their NCAA D2 program's just a powerhouse, so we're expecting big things out of the University of Tampa club baseball team. But they were added to the South Conference in the Dixie region. We dropped Craven Community College to Division III, and we added Wake Forest to Division III to take Craven's place and added them to the North Conference. That should say Division II, and added Lander from D3 to the Central Conference, and moved James Madison from the Chesapeake to the North Conference. Again, I think the common theme is it looks like a lot, but it's really not. Not a lot happening. It's just a lot of words. And again, we should probably pare these words down for the future. In the Great American, the East Conference, we moved the East Conference to the Northern Plains. And I think these are probably our biggest moves. But yeah, the East Conference in the Great American to the Northern Plains, and we added the Rocky Lone Star South as the new South Conference. That Rocky Lone Star South Conference is all the teams that were down in Texas, and they are now a part of the Great American region, and the Rocky Lone Star, Rocky Mountain, which we'll talk about, is that newly formed Northern Pacific Division II conference, and the teams in Colorado. In the New England, SUNY Binghamton moved up to D1. We dropped CCSU and Ithaca down to D2 and added Adelphi from D2 to the South Conference, and added New Penn the new Penn North as the new West Conference. Moved SUNY onto Clarkson, SUNY Cortland from the Central to the East Conference, and then Rhode Island from the East Conference to the South Conference. So some movements there, but again, not anything drastic, nothing that's going to make a team's head spin. And again, if this is the first time you're hearing it, it's very easy. Just check. The conferences are all updated online, and you can certainly get a whole league realignment look on the contact page if you click contact and scroll down. The new Penn, we added the Northern Plains East as a new West Conference to replace the new Penn North. Again, I know that might not make a lot of sense right now, but you can see the entire breakdown online. And then the Northern Plains, we added the Great American East as the new East Conference to replace the Northern Plains East. And then lastly, the Rocky Mountain, the big change there, again, adding that NOPAC conference, in making it a Division II conference, and they are going to be joined by the Colorado schools that were formerly in the Rocky Lone Star. So a lot of words there, not drastic movement at the Division II level. And I think a big reason there was more movement than anticipated was the Northern Pacific starting the Division II region up there. We had to free up some spaces and had to do a little more movement than normal, but I would expect next year to have very little movement at the Division II level. I really, really think that'll mirror Division I, just because that biggest piece of getting a Division II conference opened up, happened, and now things should really solidify at the D2 level. And at the Division III for this year, things are still happening. As D1, D2, realignment's pretty much done. At D3, the difference there is all new teams that join our association have to start at the Division III level, as long as there's a Division III conference close to them. So with that, you have a lot of new teams coming in. You're also, the nature of the beast, you have some teams that have been struggling, maybe haven't been competing, maybe are not the best organized that are at the Division III level, that unfortunately have to fold, take a year off to really reorganize. So there's a lot more pieces moving at the Division III level as opposed to D1 and D2. So D3, you're going to see more changes, different conferences, completely new teams. But we're hoping with all the new teams coming in, we're able to consolidate conferences. We're able to make travel far less, because we know at the Division III level you might not have as big as budgets as D1 and D2 teams. So those are our goals, and the D3 website is as up to date as possible. So I don't want to get all very detailed into this D3 alignment, because things are still happening. But the possible realignments you'll see at the bottom of the screen. We're hoping Franklin Pierce is joining. They were one of those verbal commitments. They would join the District 1 East. Central Connecticut would move to District 1 West. Stony Brook would join the District 2 East, and Edinburgh would join District 2 West. With Virginia Commonwealth verbally committed, they would join District 3 North, and VMI would join Division 2. So there's a lot of things, I won't say a lot, but there's things still happening at the Division 3 level. If you have any questions, I know I talked to Owen Heatherton at St. John's Fisher. He had some questions. If you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot, and I've heard a lot of these questions and concerns that teams may have. And speaking with Owen at St. John's Fisher, it was a great conversation. He brought up a lot of great points, a lot of great concerns, and we talked through them. And he, at the end of the conversation, felt more at ease. And if you have questions about any of this stuff, don't hesitate to reach out to us, any of us. That's our job. So please let us know if you have any questions. All of our contact information's on the website. The last thing I will be talking about, and then we'll get some new, fresh blood onto the podium, is the Rules Committee meeting for this past year. So we're going to be getting into the rules that were put in place for this upcoming 1920 season. The Rules Committee, it's 7 members, and you see at the bottom, the last point there, the president, Sandy Sanderson, is one of the members. The D1, D2, and D3 league representatives, which is myself, Eric, and Garrett. And then we have a D1 at-large regional director. So all 8 regional directors vote on who they want to put at the rules meeting. Ryan Norris has been that at-large selection the last few years, and that's to no one's surprise. And then we have both elected team reps. So it's made up of 7. That's an odd number, so we don't have any ties. I do want to mention, I talked about Joe and Chad. They are excellent advocates on your behalf. Myself, Sandy, Eric, Garrett, we have a point of view of the league's standpoint. These guys are going to bat for you and are an advocate on your behalf. When they bring up your rules or your suggestions, they are going to bat for you, and a lot of rules got into place because of these guys. So they do a great job. Utilize them. If there's a rule you don't like, you guys build the rule book. You might not know that, but you guys are the ones that make the rule book. So making sure you're reaching out to Joe if you're a D1 team, Chad if you're a D2 team, and reaching out to them with your rules. And we will bring them up for discussion. The D1 Rules Committee team's representative is up for election this fall. So if it's something that you're interested in running for, I'm hoping that Joe runs again, just because I thought he did a fantastic job personally. That's not to say that you wouldn't do a fantastic job. So if that's something that you're interested in running for, we will have information out later this fall on how to apply for that. There will be a vote. It's an elected position, so the teams have the say in who this elected team, Division I team's rep, is going to be for this year. So look out for that come fall. This past year, we met on the 27th of July to discuss, debate, and vote on establish any changes to the NCBA rules. Teams communicated their proposed rule changes to their regional director and/or elected teams reps, and we always want to reiterate, every single rule suggestion was discussed. If you looked at the results of the meeting that we posted online, you might see some votes that have no vote listed next to that. It was discussed, but it was either decided, that's not really a rule book addition, so we didn't vote on it. But there's also been times where the committee just didn't feel there was enough support to warrant a vote. But I promise you, every single suggestion was discussed. I mean, it's a long meeting, several hours. So we got through every one. I thought it was a very productive meeting, and I thought we put in some fantastic rules. So eligibility, we got a question.
Stephen Durr from Ithaca College is wondering when Division III conference schedules will be released.
And that's on me. I am hoping I have them all collected. There's some pieces of realignment that we're not going to be able to formally put the schedules online. But what I'm hoping is early next week to have a proposal sent to all teams, basically outlining the schedule so the teams can kind of plan for that. And if there's any issues with that, they can certainly bring those up at that time. But I can't formally post the schedule yet because we're waiting on a couple pieces, but that'll be worked on. I'm going to start working on those tomorrow. And like I said, I hope, it's my goal to have early next week a proposal to you guys. If everything looks good on the proposal, we get some realignment pieces taken care of, we should have those up, third week in August, if not late August. And the later, if I'm not getting it out till, August 21st, I'm not going to have you guys scheduled the first weekend of the regular season where your hands are tied. And so I will be flexible there. And a proposal will go out, so you'll be able to look at all that stuff. But long-winded answer to that question, but hopefully proposal will be out to you soon. I was planning on, I know I talk a lot, I was planning on going through all of these rules, but there's a lot that got put into place, and these are all rules that passed. So I don't know if I'm going to touch on every single one. If you have any questions about any of these rules that are getting put into place, please put it into the comments section, and I can go over those with you. The first one, though, we had we had an individual reach out. He graduated high school. He took a year off of high school, and it was mainly, I think, to determine if he wanted to go to college or go to the military. He decided on going to the military for several years, past his 25th birthday. Once he got out of the military, he enrolled, after his discharge, enrolled in the first semester after college. But our rules state you have to start straight from high school into the military and right after the military into college. If you don't meet those, you're ineligible. You have no eligibility left. We didn't feel like that was fair because an individual that maybe took 6 years off, graduated high school when he was 18 years old, maybe took 6 years off and is 24 years old, and he starts college before his 25th birthday. He has full eligibility, 6 years to compete 5. We just felt that situation of the first guy just didn't feel right. So what we basically did, you still have to enroll into college directly after your discharge from the military, but we took out the word straight from high school to the military. So if you take a year off to decide on what you want to do and then join the military, you're past your 25th birthday, and you enroll directly after your discharge, you'll have eligibility left. So I know I'm going to be talking with an individual, making sure that he knows that he most likely has some eligibility. I have to review his documents, but that was put into place. Co-op. There's several reasons that a player can be removed from the roster in that window, January 25th to 31st. Being on co-op was not one of those reasons for removal. We had this certain instance was a player was on the roster in the fall. He was on co-op in North Carolina, and they were a team based in Philadelphia, and they were not able to take this player off the roster, and chances of him playing in the spring were non-existent. So we did not pass that a co-op out of state can be included in a roster removal, but we added basically a $200 mile range, that if their co-op takes place 200 miles or greater from campus, they can be removed, and that includes school-sponsored internships as well. Spring season begins February 1st for all teams. That passed. To give a little quick background on that, spring eligible teams that are able to play NCBA sanctioned games, they were able to play February 1st. But if you were a fall team that were eligible to play fall eligible conference games, as well as spring, you couldn't start your spring season until February 15th. We just decided to make it uniform. If you're a fall team, you can start February 1st as well. Chances are, if in the North Atlantic area, which is a fall eligible region at D1, you're probably not playing baseball February 1st. The only way of doing that is really going south. But you are eligible to play NCBA sanctioned games on February 1st. All teams are at all levels. Fall eligible teams must schedule at least one conference series in the fall. There's a reason teams are fall eligible, and that is because the spring is extremely short for those teams. And we need you to play games in the fall so that you are ensuring you're getting all or at least most of your conference games played. We put into place that if you are a fall eligible team at the D1 level, which is the North Atlantic region, the Great Lakes region, the Mid-America North Conference, and the Mid-Atlantic West Conference. If you're a member of any of those regions or conferences, you must schedule a fall conference series. That's by rule. So you must schedule that fall series. At the D2 level, it also passed, and to give some clarity, all D2 teams are eligible to play fall. If you're in California or Florida, you can play fall NCBA sanctioned games. I don't think a lot of those teams take advantage of that, nor should they, because their springs start February 1st, and they can usually play throughout the spring. But we did pass it, but we wanted to somewhat mirror D1, where only a certain few regions, specific regions where we pinpoint our kind of problem areas when it comes to spring ball. The New England region, New Penn region, Chesapeake, and Northern Plains. If you're a part of any of those regions, you are required to play one game in the fall. And again, there's a reason we want you to play, and that's just so that you can get your games in. There's just not a chance. I mean, there's a chance if we get good weather that you can get them in, but so we just want to make sure that you guys are getting your games in, and that's why we passed that rule. At the Division III level, we did not pass that, and that's mainly due to a lot of new teams joining. Sometimes they're joining late, and to require a new team that might join in, I don't know, middle October, to have them, hey, you got a conference series next weekend, we didn't feel was right. So it's not a rule at the D3 level, but at D1 and D2 it is. Adding language around weather and reschedules due to teams using it to cancel without any actual weather issues. We as regional directors were in a position where we were having to make decisions on if a game is going to be rained out or not. And in a lot of cases, we're not even close to where that game is that series is being taken place. So we wanted to put in a hierarchy, so to speak, of people who make the decisions on if the game is going to be a rain out and need rescheduled. The first is the managing entity of that field. We know a lot of teams use their varsity fields. A lot of teams use local parks and rec. A lot of teams use high school fields. If the managing entity of one of those of the field says, hey, you're not playing this weekend, the forecast looks terrible, no chance you're playing, we don't want you to screw up our field, then that takes it out of the regional director's hands, and that will be deemed a rain out, and we will schedule the game. The next, if the managing entity doesn't say anything, and it's then up to the home and away team, visiting team, to come to a mutual agreement on that. So if the home team says, hey, guys, not going to happen, it's looking like crap, we're out at the field, it's underwater, and the visiting team says, all right, sounds good, let's figure out a date to reschedule, all those teams need to do is reach out to the regional director, and that game will be postponed, and we'll reschedule it to another date. And then the last hierarchy decision maker is the umpire. So if there's a conflict with maybe the home team saying, hey, we can play, and the visiting team saying, no, we can't play, the forecast looks terrible, well, it's going to be the umpire's decision now. So the umpire, both teams are going to be required to get out there, and the umpire will determine if the field is playable or not. So that was put into place, and that was mainly to take the responsibility off the regional director that didn't really have a lot of education on if the field was going to be rained out. So that was put into place. Allowing teams that have a D1 and D2 team or a D2 and D3 team, in years past, they can play one another, but that requirement, that non-conference game requirement, would not count. Those games would not count towards their non-conference game requirement for postseason eligibility. Last year, we allowed one game to be played. This year, now 2 games can be played. So that's something else that was put into place. Distasteful stadium music. If somebody is the home team's playing stadium music or field music out of a boombox, and it's of the distasteful style, if it's offensive, if a fan deems it offensive, if the opposing team deems it offensive, they can get the umpire involved by rule. The umpire can let the team know, hey, put on some good music that may not have curse words. If the home team decides they're not going to listen to that request, then there can be ejections for the head coach. So put that into play as well. Go ahead, Alec.
Austin Staybell with Nebraska is wondering what the policy is for teams not making an effort to reschedule.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's tough, and I know I talked to Patrick in Nebraska last year, and we're hoping we are getting to a situation, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. We're going to put a lot of onus on the teams, and we'll talk about it, to make an effort to reschedule games, to play games. And one of those things is, making the performance bond a little larger. And, if you forfeit a game, you're going to lose a larger chunk of change. So, yeah, it's tough. We're in a situation. There's some gray area that, we have rules in place that if a game's rained out, it needs rescheduled by that next Thursday. Teams need to play. But, yeah, we do know there's more teams that, make bigger efforts and will do whatever they possibly can to get games played. And, there's some teams that might not do the same. So we're hoping to work towards making sure teams are playing the games, because that's what you guys are here for. So, so intentional walks. This is, I guess you call it a big rule. I believe 2 years ago, the NCAA said pitcher doesn't have to throw 4 pitches. The coach just has to signal to the umpire, hey, we're going to intentionally walk this guy, and you just put the guy on first. Last year in the NCBA, we still required the pitcher to throw 4 pitches. But this year we are going to follow NCAA suit, and now you do not have to throw 4 pitches outside the strike zone to intentionally walk the batter. All the coach has to do is point to the umpire, hey, we want to intentionally walk this guy, and he goes down to first. We also added conference limit for defensive and offensive language to the rules. This kind of is in the same aspect of mound visits. I believe you get 3 per game, 1 per inning. But this has been a rule in the NCAA rule book where you only have a certain number of conferences, and that's defensive and that's offensive. And I don't know the exact wording right now, and I don't want to get too much into it, but we listed that NCAA rule book for your convenience in the NCBA rule book so that it's there for you guys. Also added the wind-up position from the NCBA and added it to not our rule book, but to our frequently asked questions. The NCAA put a point of emphasis on the wind-up position. I guess a lot of pitchers were lined up in the wind-up, but they were angled and they didn't know if they were maybe in the stretch. So the NCAA put a point of emphasis on, if you're in the wind-up, your shoulders, chest need to be facing the home plate. So those are discussed in the frequently asked questions. We basically tell you, hey, look at NCAA rule. I think it's Rule 9, section whatever. And piggyback off that, know the NCAA rules. Those are our rules. We just have different ones from them in our rule book. So make sure that you're familiar with the NCAA rules. Go ahead, Alec.
Martin Gordillo from Humboldt State University is wondering if they can play teams in their conference in the fall or if they're only spring.
I believe at the Division II level, and Garrett would know better, but yeah, I believe all Division II teams are eligible to play NCBA sanctioned games in the fall, conference, non-conference. So I believe his question is, can he do that, play conference games in the fall? And yes, I believe you are eligible to do that. You're not required. We put that rule in place where certain regions are required to play one, or at least scheduled one game in the fall. You guys aren't, I believe, in any of those regions, but yeah, you can certainly conference or schedule or request to schedule games, conference, non-conference, in the fall.
Rich Warnall is wondering if the fund for forfeiting teams can pay for the team that travels to the game that gets canceled.
Yes, that's been a topic of discussion. What I think we wanted, the reason we don't do that, and the reason that we have the performance bond deduction going to the regional.
Sorry, you said forfeited, not canceled.
Okay, yeah. If a team forfeits, they lose right now $100, and that money's going. It goes now towards your regional, or it goes into your region's budget. We've had people come to us say, well, why isn't that forfeit money going to the team that was forfeited against, which makes sense. What we didn't want was teams saying, yeah, they forfeited, to line their pockets a little more. We wanted to make sure that every effort was put in place to get games in. We were just concerned that a team might say, encourage a team to forfeit a game, and we don't want that. We want teams to try and get games in. So we put that money into the regional budget. In most cases, what we're trying to do, if the budget allows, if there's a lot of regional forfeits or region forfeits, we try and give the winner a winner's gift, the winner of the regional, a gift of money, which is mainly made up of performance bonds. To get out to help with World Series travel. And I know in the SOPAC specifically, that's been a really, really good region. And last year, I think Chico was the only team that forfeited their performance bond. But and I can give a better explanation. I know that's something we have talked about because that does make sense. Why wouldn't the team that was forfeited against get the money?
Drew Roy from Pitt State is wondering if there's been any discussion about having spring tournaments similar to Wood War's Battle Creek.
Yeah, we have our spring training events out. I think this is what I think I'm answering this correctly. We have our spring training, and I know Pitt State, I believe, went down to our spring training showcase in Tampa. But yeah, we have spring tournaments out west in Mesquite and Henderson. We encourage teams. We'll talk about team invitational tournaments here. We encourage teams to host their own. It's a great fundraiser. So that can happen in the spring, certainly. If it's something you want to organize, yeah, you can certainly do that. Boom, boom, boom. Courtesy runner. People asked to get the courtesy runner in place at the D1 level for the catcher or pitcher for 2 outs. That was not passed. We then got into, well, should we get rid of the courtesy runner for everything at the Division II level? That did not pass. That was a tight vote, but courtesy runners are still eligible at the D2 level. But now we did move courtesy runners. You can only do that with 2 outs in the inning, and that did pass. So that was implemented. So at the D2 level, courtesy runner, catcher, pitcher, it can only happen with 2 outs. Big one here. Bat rules. The NCAA said white barrel bats moving forward are illegal for play. Funny enough, we sent you guys 2 white barrel bats last year with our Marucci sponsorship. We obviously know that we don't want to tell you guys those 2 bats are now illegal, like the NCAA would. So what we are allowing for the 1920 season is both those white barrel bats. They were both white barrel, correct, Alec? Both those white barrel bats that you received last year will be legal for competition in 1920. 2020, 2021, they will not be legal, but we wanted to grandfather those white barrel bats into the rules for this year. So again, to reiterate, your white barrel bats that you got last year will be legal for competition. This year, Marucci is not going to send you more white barrel bats. I believe they are black barrel bats. That you will both bats will be black barrels, so won't be an issue. Those should be good for several years. Protests. We were looking into getting protests for umpire qualifications. as an on-field protest only. Right now they are on-field and off-field. That did not pass, but what we did pass was lowering the number of lost protests from 4 to 3. And if you lose 3 protests, you are no longer allowed to protest anymore. Keep in mind that 3 is a important number. Most series are 3 games. And if you're protesting a guy that was not on the roster after the game was completed and he played in all 3 games, you're going to lose all 3 of those protests and you won't be eligible to protest again. And that is in an effort to make sure that, protests aren't frivolous. They're not just, they don't hold any merit. We wanted to make sure that when you're protesting, it's important that details with our rule book are met. So we did lower that from 4 to 3. So that's something you need to remember, because if it's a series you're protesting, it's not, hey, we're protesting 1 series. You're protesting all 3 games. And then we also changed the deadline to protest from Tuesday night at midnight to Monday. So if you want to protest, you got to get it in a little sooner. And that is just a function of it gives us as a league more time to investigate. And we feel that if it's a protest, it's important to you, that you can get all that information needed to put that protest form into our office. So that moved from Tuesday to Monday. Changing Rule 2405 to the last week of the team season. In years past, if you forfeited one game, during the last weekend of the regular season, you were put on probation for that, the remainder of that year and all of next year, and that was automatic. We had some teams, their last weekend or their last regular season game didn't fall on the last weekend of the regular season, and they were forfeiting because they just wanted to close up their season. They were out of the playoffs, and they say, hey, we'll just forfeit. And it didn't affect them where it wasn't the last weekend of the regular season, so they weren't put on probation automatically for all of next year. So we changed it. If you forfeit a game during the last weekend of your team's regular season, you will now be on probation for that year and all of next year. Automatic demotion for a D1 team. This is just D1 that forfeits 3+ games 2 years in a row, including the 18-19 season, this past season. If space is available and there is a replacement. You have auto relegation rules in place at D1, and right now the only auto relegation rule is that if you finish last in your conference 2 years in a row, you will be moved down to Division II as long as there's a space available on a replacement. We added this. If you do forfeit 3 or more games 2 years in a row, that is another kick in auto relegation if space is available and a replacement. Again, I think it was forget who asked the question, but for the 2020-2021 season, the performance bond for D1 will move from $300 to $600. And I know people listening might say, oh my, more money. Now we got to pay more money. This is all in an effort. We have the best intentions for you guys. This is all in an effort to deter forfeits. And we felt the $100 deduction just wasn't sending a message. And we're hoping that, hey, you forfeit a game or a series, say you forfeit a series, that's $600. And we hope that teams are going to be more cognizant of that and understand that's a big hit to the pocketbook, and that we'll make an effort to get these games played. And that is the reason we are doing that. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're a team that does what you're supposed to do and you don't forfeit games, your performance bond is $300. So yes, you owe another $300. But you guys do your job, that money just rolls over year after year. You're not going to have to pay that again. But again, we have the best intentions here, and the thing that we're trying to get across is that we want to see forfeits less and less, because forfeits just make up for a bad experience for our team. So we looked at different ideas, but we feel monetarily was the best way to deter forfeits. So hopefully bumping that up will deter forfeits. We are seeing forfeits going down. We saw that the total number of forfeits went down in all 3 divisions, but we're hoping not by a lot. So we're hoping that we'll get a significant decrease once this is put in place. Stats. A lot of people, this has been a topic at many rules committee meetings, how to enforce teams to upload accurate stats. Stats are on the honor system. Teams are entering the stats. And again, we are trusting that accurate and complete stats are being put in place. But what we're noticing when we're picking All-Americans, all-region teams, some red flags here and there. Maybe a team that was out at the regional, he doesn't have a loss on his record, but he lost a game. Or a guy's batting average seems a bit inflated. We're not there, so we really can't penalize teams for that. But what our effort, and we're trying to take a step in the right direction. Maybe it's a small step, but what we're requiring teams is by June 10th, you have to have stats inputted for every single game that was listed on the schedule. And we're not going to go through player by player and say, hey, this looks weird or this looks funky. But we feel at least a step in the right direction is that you have stats up for every game. So 6/10, June 10th of every year, we will check each team that submits nominations. We will check their stats for each game that they played. And if there's stats entered, they will be eligible. But if there's a game where maybe they got blown out 14-0 and their ace pitcher got shelled and his ERA bumped up quite a bit and they didn't enter stats for that, they're not going to be eligible for the All-American or All-Region awards. So we're hoping that's another step in the right direction where we're encouraging teams to get stats added to the website. But again, we're asking you guys, honor system, don't disrespect the honor system. Make sure stats are entered properly and accurately. A few more slides, guys. I hope you're sticking with us, and I hope you're learning a lot. Again, if you have questions, please type into that comment section. These next, I believe, 3 slides we'll get through hopefully pretty quickly. This first one, changing the tiebreaker to figure out the second place finisher in each conference. San Diego, I don't know if there's any University of San Diego representatives reaching out, but they provided a great example for us. It's easy for us to determine who the conference winner is by our conference standings rules in our rule book. But for figuring out second place, in San Diego's case, they were tied, I believe, with Arizona State for the second place. And the reason we need to find out who the true second place team is, they have to, for at-large reasons. The tiebreakers for second place, they go down to the next conference winner, how you did against your next best conference opponent, I should say, which is the 4th team. And it was a 4-team conference. And I believe Arizona State had a better record against that 4th team than San Diego. They wanted the change to be, instead of the next best conference team, how you did against the conference champion, which we feel is a good change. It makes sense. So that's something that we changed in the rule book. I don't think it comes up a ton, but it's in there, and we feel that it's the right rule, and we're excited that that got passed. D1 rule changes specifically. We had teams really requesting to bump the roster limit to 35 to match the double NCAA rule, which is 35 is the roster limit there. We were at 30, and there was talk about, well, let's keep it at 30 and add 5 practice squad players. But after talking about that more, we had that in another one of our league, the club football league. It just didn't make sense. So I get back to these the team elected teams reps, Joe Karachi, Chad Lowe. I'm not going to name which one it was, but they were extremely passionate about this rule and really advocating on behalf of the teams that requested it. Was very passionate about it and brought up fantastic points, I thought. And we met in the middle. We compromised, and we didn't go to 35, but we did increase it at all levels, D1, D2, and D3 to 33 guys. I'm sure next year we'll be on the docket to get back up to 35, but we feel that we went in a good direction for our teams, that they wanted it. Teams rep did his job and, swayed some guys, and now we're up to 33. So 33-man roster limit at all three divisions. So hopefully that's something for those teams that they're excited about. Alec?
Joe from Adelphi is wondering if D2 teams are allowed to also hold a practice squad.
Yeah. I mean, if you have your roster, your official NCBA roster, and you have 15 extra guys that you want to call your practice squad, what I would recommend is not exhausting your 33 man roster limit right out of the bat in the fall. Maybe only keeping 25, 27 guys on that official roster that made the team. And that practice squad can be guys that can be added to the roster later. You have until April 15th to add guys. So, yeah, you can certainly have a practice squad. But as far as, I don't know if you're talking in regards to that point where, keeping this roster at 30 but having 5 practice squad players. But, yeah, I mean, you have, there's no rules against having a separate practice squad team for you guys. Division Rule 2 rule changes. This was just a simple one. I'm not going to talk about it much, but forfeits, if you forfeited 3 or more games or you forfeited to 2 or more conference opponents in a year, you were automatically placed on probation for that year and all of next year. It said automatically Division 1. It said can be instead of automatically. So we felt we wanted to, have a case-by-case basis in that sense. So we removed automatically for the next full season from D2 and D3, and now that it's switched to can be. Postseason awards, we're excited that we'll be able to have all region teams for Division 2. Last year we only had All-Americans at the Division 2 level. Again, as D2 gets bigger, more solidified, more on par with Division 1. We are offering now all region teams to Division 2, and I know a lot of teams in Division 2 were advocating for that, and that got passed. So there will be all region teams at the D2 level. These are just rule cleanups that it's just adding a word here or two, or just cleaning it up to make sure that words that were in the rule book later that were referencing another rule. We just had some things that we had to clean up, and those. Nothing huge there that you need to talk about, but if you have any questions about any of those, certainly you can reach out to me. And then last, we talked about lineup cards. I think the NCAA, I'm trying to think of the word. It's not, they don't say it's a convenience, but at the NCAA level, you don't have to list numbers. Our rules state that you do have to list numbers. So what we have put in place, if a lineup card does not have jersey numbers listed on it, the opposing team can request that jersey numbers are added to it. If the opposing team doesn't grant your request, the head coach will be ejected. The designated head coach will be ejected. But we also wanted to add, we've seen several instances where not enough jerseys to go around, and substitutes coming off the bench have to switch jerseys with a starter. That is allowed, but we want to make sure that teams, if that does happen, teams are notifying the umpire and the opposing team of that change. And then the last thing might seem funny, but yeah, there's no video replay allowed during any NCBA sanctioned baseball games. I hope that you got to tune in to our NCBA Division I World Series video broadcast. It was absolutely incredible. Hats off to Sandy for really making that happen. I thought it was absolutely awesome. But what we just wanted to close this loophole where, at the World Series, if a guy in the dugout's watching the live feed and it's a bang bang play, we don't want him showing his head coach like, hey, he's safe, and him taking that video out to the umpire and saying, hey, you missed a call here, and the umpire reversing it. So no video replay. It's not allowed. That was passed 7 votes to nothing. But those are all the rules that we got in place for this upcoming year. The rule books are completed. They are done. They will be emailed to all your teams. But we have quite a few things going out to teams, so we didn't want to flood you with those. But the rule books, they're actually posted online right now. But they will be emailed to you guys in the coming days, so you'll have those for the upcoming year. I'll take my final question, I think.
Nick Strong from UHG. He was wondering if it's okay for conference schools to come together and make extra awards such as Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, etc.
Absolutely. And it wasn't, Nick, I know you brought up a lot about, having awards for, the guy with the best batting average, most home runs, most RBIs, maybe having a triple crown. And those are very easy for us to do, and we are hoping to do those. But if you want to have, get together and have conference awards, more about, absolutely, 100% do it. And if you need us to help you out in any way, please let us know. I'm going to take a break. My voice hurts. But we're going to get into our breakout sessions. And first session is team operations. I'm going to invite Garrett Seamek and Eric Curator onto the set, and they are going to go over a lot of important documents that we have in the NCBA. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to them to talk about those.
All right, thank you, Christian. All right.
So we'll get right into it. I'm Garrett Seamek, and
I'm Eric Curator, D1 and D2 guys, giving Christian a little bit of a breather here. We'll get right into it.
yeah, so just a reminder, if you have any questions throughout this period, feel free to reach out, put in the comments, name, school, and we'll take care of your questions. All right, to start off, we have the LPAs and other forms. These forms we loved having back by July 1st, but there's still a handful we still have left. We probably have about 95% of you guys. But everyone else, please get us those reg forms, those team renewals, everything, so we can finalize it all and get things moving for this year.
Yeah, just to piggyback real quick, that is by far the most important thing. Obviously, we make that due date a little flexible, but we need those forms as soon as possible just for accounting for you guys. We got to do realignment. We got to plan for next year, and if we don't have you around, it's hard to project and plan where we're going to be for the next year. So get those in on time, please. Registration forms. This is also very important to us. We know every year that teams have turnover with their officers. It's important for us to have the right people to email every year. We don't want to be emailing guys that are not on the team anymore, or email guys that maybe aren't the officers or care to do the administrative stuff that we're requiring from you guys. So it's important for us to have those updated contacts every year. So that's basically it. It takes 2 minutes to fill out, and it goes a long way, especially this part of the year we're going to be sending out a lot of important stuff to you guys. So
Yeah, exactly. Next up is the schedule request forms, which this is a big thing for you guys. Please get them back as soon as possible. I know all the D2 teams should have them already. I've already sent out the proposals for the fall eligible teams with trying to get those schedules up soon. But without these forms, we don't know when your spring break is. We don't know when you have a school event at your campus, and we might end up scheduling you. If we don't have these forms, we could schedule on a spring break, and you guys would have to play those games or somehow plead with the other team. So make sure you get those into us. Make sure you're checking your academic calendar, talking to your team, and being accurate on those forms.
Yeah, the next one is general liability insurance. I know a lot of this is not going to make sense to a lot of you. It's the $2 million general aggregate and $1 million per occurrence. Long story short, your club sports directors, your administration, it's going to be great for them to hear this. We can add any fields that you guys are looking to rent onto our policy, which gives them coverage as well. And the big thing to take away from this, it's not health insurance. So if you break your leg, you do something, you mess your arm up pitching or anything like that, we do not cover that. It is not health insurance. It's strictly general liability.
Yep. Next up, reserving fields, which piggybacks to the insurance, which you can use as a third party. It's $75 per field to reserve it, to add a field to your insurance policy. We advise you guys working on this as soon as possible. As soon as we send that schedule request, the schedule proposal out to you guys, start contacting fields, because sometimes it can take months to reserve a field and go through that process. And the last thing you want to do is get to Wednesday before a game and you guys don't have a field, and then you're hit with forfeits because you can't find one. So the earlier the better, and just try and contact anyone you can to reserve a field.
Yeah, and the same idea goes for scheduling umpires. As soon as you get your conference schedule or your non-conference games set up, reach out to those guys ASAP. We recommend your local high schools, your local colleges, your local parks and rec. They all have contacts there. You want to get those contacts ASAP to book your guys. And we also recommend, check in with them as your games come up. Just because you schedule them 2 months prior doesn't mean they're going to remember. Well, hopefully they remember, but you want to be safe because obviously you're going to be facing forfeit losses possibly if your umpires don't show up. So be proactive into checking in with them just to make sure as your games come up, you'll be thankful that you do that. So.
Yep. Next up is your team manager access and signing up your players. This is something that we'll be sending out in probably the next couple weeks to the fall eligible teams. Each team will have their head coach or president reach out to us saying, hey, I'm going to be their team manager. I'm going to be managing our roster, stats, and all of that. We'll give you team manager access, which gives you that opportunity to do that, as well as your team code. You'll then pass that on to every one of your team members, and they'll go onto the NCBA website, set up their roster, set up their profile, and add the team code to be added to your roster.
Yeah, it's on a tee for you. If you're an new player, you'll obviously have to start from scratch, putting in all your information, your bio, your eligibility stuff, your academic stuff, all that good stuff. If you're a returning player, you played in years past, your profile will have all that information set up for you. The only thing that we ask is just be very truthful. If we catch you lying about your eligibility, you're going to affect your team and yourself obviously too. So just be truthful. It'll take 10 to 15 minutes to fill out, and it affects your eligibility. And you only get one time to do it. So once you go through it, you can't go back and change anything. So just be precise. Take your time. It won't take very long to begin with. And it's big. It affects your eligibility.
And one piggyback on that is make sure you tell your players to be accurate with it, because guys that put down they played pro ball or got paid or whatever, they then have to go to an appeal process with us, and that can take a couple days sometimes, and which will mess up their eligibility. So if they get it right the first time, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, and you do have the ability to put your picture. You can put up a nice bio. It's nice if you get pitcher player of the week. Your picture will be on the front page of the website, which is pretty cool. Shows off your team, shows off your weekend, your performance. So make it look good. It's just another option you guys have.
Next up is the coach's waiver. All non-rostered personnel, whether it's a coach, a trainer, anyone that's going to be in the dugout that's not on the roster, needs to fill out a coach's participation waiver. Must be printed, signed, and then sent back to us, either email, scan, or fax, whatever works for you guys. But this essentially says, hey, I'm allowed to be in the dugout, I'm a part of the team, and kind of waives all risk of you not being on the roster while being in the dugout. And if you need that, it's either on the info tab for the NCBA website, or you can email your regional director and we can get that to you.
Yeah, the next thing is the academic eligibility letter. So this is equally as important as registering online. That's obviously the first step. Once you register online, you're going to sit in what we call a registration queue. You're not on the roster yet. You have to do this academic eligibility letter. So we have 2 samples on the website under that info tab on the documents, and it's basically getting your eligibility cleared through the school. So whoever's in charge of your team will list all your players, all your names, and then you will take that to your school, your club sports director, the registrar, whoever it may be, and they'll go ahead and check you guys one by one. You want to make sure you're full-time, you meet all the requirements, you have a 2.0, you're in good academic standing. Basically, just checking your eligibility, just making sure you meet our requirements, and once you are cleared through us, we will put you onto the roster. And the one thing that you'll see in bold that we implemented probably a handful of years ago, it must be sent directly to the NCBA by the club sports director or faculty advisor, unless the letter has a stamp or a seal on it. That's just to protect us to know that it came from the school, that they reviewed it. We don't want teams last minute trying to forge a signature to get their guys eligible, or perhaps it's Friday, the school hasn't got it back to me yet, now I just got to forge it so I can get my guys eligible. It's important that you plan ahead and forecast, because usually that process takes some time.
Yeah, next up is uploading player stats and team information. This is mainly for the team manager. You're the only one that can enter stats in the back end of the website. That way we don't have individual players logging in, changing their stats and all of that. It's just the team manager that does it. You just log in, select your game, and input each player's stats for that game. And then in addition to that, you can add any information, Twitter, website, all of that kind of stuff. So feel free to go ahead and do that. And just a reminder to D1 and D2 teams, all of your stats must be uploaded in order to win not only player and pitcher of the week, but also that all-region and all-American stuff towards the end of the year.
We got a question. thought we were doing a good job, but apparently I got a question.
Austin Miller from Cal State Channel Islands is wondering if they do an academic letter in the fall, do they have to do one in the spring as well?
Yes. So if you play any NCBA sanctioned games in the fall, meaning they count, they're on the website, and obviously you have to be eligible to count them. You do have to submit another academic eligibility letter after the new year, after January 1st, and that's basically just to reapprove your guys. Updated course loads, new GPAs. It's a new semester, so we got to reapprove you guys, clear you guys to the website. So that is a very good question, especially with a lot of teams playing in the fall, and got to plan for that.
Yep. Just to reiterate again, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to put it in the comment section with your name or whatever the question will be, and we'll take care of you guys.
So weekly team submission form. Hopefully a lot of you guys are used to this, but for you new guys, this is basically how we get your guys' scores each week. It sounds crazy, but at times it's hard for us to get these from you. It shouldn't be. We just want to get your scores. We want to put them on the website. It's a good look for the league to have updated scores in a timely manner, and it really doesn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes just to get us that. It's also an opportunity for you guys to nominate your pitcher and player of the week, so we can have that. So when the time comes on Tuesday for us to pick those winners, we'll have that information. So long story short, it's how we get your scores, and we need those as soon as possible after you guys play.
Next up is the NCBA dues. This includes 2 BB Corps bats, 6 dozen NCBA baseballs for D1 teams, and then 5 dozen for both D2 and D3 teams. All teams are covered under that liability insurance policy. And then D1, D2 teams get their full set of catcher's gear and or batting helmets, as well as paying that $300 performance bond that rolls over year after year. Our full dues: D1 $2,100, D2 $1,850, D3 $1,625, which have to be paid in full by February 28th, and always that great discount of $100 by December 31st.
It's the easiest fundraiser ever.
Yeah, exactly. If you want an invoice,
Save $100.
Want to pay early, reach out to us. We'll get you guys an invoice. I believe we have another question.
Logan Catch is wondering if a player is full-time, or if a student is full-time in the fall, but they are not taking the full-time 12 credits in the spring, but are taking enough to graduate, are they still eligible to play?
Absolutely. That's a great question. We get that a lot. As long as you're taking what you need to graduate at the end of that spring semester, or maybe it's the fall semester that you're graduating, you are 100% eligible. So that's a good question.
All right.
All right, so we're going to talk about boosting team interest and team morale. The easiest thing to do, and I know the school I went to has it, I know most schools have it, they have a student involvement fair for incoming freshmen every year. It's basically, they could see all the clubs, learn about all the organizations and programs that are offered around the college. Easy way. Set up a table, get your name out there a little bit. It's a great opportunity for guys to learn about your club, learn about what you guys do and what you're made of. Flyers in the dorms all across. That's an easy way. Facebook group, social media, just make your presence known around campus. You got to get the word out so guys learn about the opportunity to get on your team.
Yeah, boosting team morale. Can't stress this enough. Do things not only on the baseball field. When you guys are getting together out of the field, and whether it's at your apartments, in the dorms, in class, whatever it is, it just kind of builds a brotherhood, and you guys are going to be a lot closer on the field and just have an overall better experience. And you'll see more guys coming back each year because of how much they're enjoying it. It can be done through social events, whether it's a party, whether you set up a mixer with, say, like the club softball team or another club sporting event team at your school. And then setting room assignments on trips. That's a big thing. It's have the leadership set up assignments. That way you're not having the same 4 guys in the room every single time. Gets everyone around, meeting each other, and kind of growing that relationship. So don't only look for good players, but guys that can help grow your program because they can make a big impact for you guys.
All right, so budgeting. It's very important to set an accurate budget. I feel like that goes without saying. The easiest way to do that is to forecast, what expenses you're going to have for the year. Think about umpires, field costs, uniforms, hats, new guys. Are you going to get new sets? Are you going to get new hats? What away trips are we going to have this year? What home series are we going to have? Are we going to go to spring training? We should obviously plan for the World Series because you want to make it there and you're going to need the money there when the time comes. So, what money's coming in and what money's coming out. It's the easiest way to forecast and, plan to be safe because you always want to make the playoffs. And if you don't make the playoffs that year, the money can roll over to the next year anyways. So. And
to kind of piggyback off that, any teams that are having issues with budgets or don't really know how to set up a budget, feel free to reach out to me. I have a sample budget that I gave a lot of my new teams saying, hey guys, these are expenses to look out for. This is what you should look for in this area. And just to kind of help them grow, and I can help you guys out as well. But then on the player dues, how much you charge is a big question based on your university. If you have a lot of guys, little guys kind of, it's really what you want to do with the team. Do you want to be able to travel a lot? Do you only want to play conference series? So the more things you want to do, the higher your dues have to be. And if you can map that out to your guys saying, hey, this is exactly where your dues are going, they'll be more likely to pay a higher due amount. So I would try and make them pay that as soon as possible. Don't let them play games without paying dues, or else they're just going to dip without having to pay dues. So we advise that as the sooner the better, and just grow your team through that.
And that last point too, charge money for tryouts. This says $5, but I've seen anywhere up to $20. You got to think you're probably paying for the field time that you're using, the turf time, whatever, wherever you're holding your tryout, the cages, whatever. You're paying for that, so why not make the guys trying out pay? It's an easy way, easy revenue to cover that expense and maybe even make a little bit at the end of the day too. So.
Yeah.
Team equipment uniforms, be sure to order early as customized items tend to have extended lead times. We'll talk about uniforms later with our sponsor Rawlings. We'll talk with the game, with the hats with Felicia. Order early, better safe than sorry. You never know what's going to happen with your school, maybe delaying to get the payment out, a lot of hoops to jump through. Just get your stuff in early, start the process early. The best thing you can do is, ask us for price quotes to get that process going so you're not, hurrying up later on and you run the risk of not having your stuff before your games, which could cause you problems because you won't be in compliance with the rule book. So order extra caps. Everyone's dad and mom wants one. They'll buy it off you. Easy way to make some money too. Order extra pants and uniforms. Sometimes uniforms rip, go missing, all the above. So order some extras. Order extra game balls when your supply runs low. NCBA rules state you must be using the official NCBA Rawlings baseball. So order some more. They don't go bad. You can use them next year. You can use them in practice. Use them for BP. They're not a bad thing to always have around. Get quotes from the NCBA sponsors. Like I was saying earlier, we have great discounts. We'll talk about in a little bit through the marketing department. Great discounts through uniforms, hats, apparel, everything that you could take advantage of. The easiest thing that you can do is ask them for a price quote. It's free. You'll learn about the opportunity, and it's only going to benefit you guys at the end of the day. And like we were saying earlier, early ordering periods. They got great discounts to incentivize you to order early, so take advantage of those.
The Guide to Collegiate Club Baseball. This is a PowerPoint presentation that we established to kind of help the baseball teams grow without having to, reach out, ask questions all the time. It's something you guys can use whenever you want and access. It kind of just gives a background of not only the NCBA, but how to grow your team if you're a new team, an experienced team, and what to expect throughout the NCBA. This is located on all 3 NCBA websites under the Documents tab. You can either view the whole PowerPoint or you can go by chapter, and we update it about monthly, and you can get all the information you need. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me as well.
All right, you want to tag team this? Every other one?
Yes.
So this list here is a lot of important deadlines for you guys to keep in mind. Print this out, put it on your desk, put it above your dorm room. This is good information for you to have. So July 1st, which already happened. Hopefully you got your LPA in. As we were saying earlier, it's important to have those as soon as possible so we can count for your team.
August 14th, that's today. That's the 20th annual league meeting.
Early August to September, obviously that fluctuates a little bit, but schedule requests are due. Need those as soon as possible so we can get your schedules out to you.
And then we try to turn those schedules around by mid-August, mid-September, so you guys can see the conference schedules.
September 13th, fall conference season begins. That's when you guys can officially start playing NCBA sanctioned games.
And then the fall ends on November 10th, and that's when the fall season officially ends, and any games after that point do not count.
December 31st, your annual league dues with a discount is due. Anything paid after that, you're not eligible for that discount. So like we were saying earlier, easy way to save $100 paid by them.
And then NCBA sanctioned games can restart on February 1st, and all games will count again.
February 29th, your NCBA annual league dues are due. That is the due date. You obviously missed the early discount period, so pay them by February 29th.
The month of March, it's a big month. The NCBA Spring Training Showcase in Tampa, Mesquite, and Henderson. I'll talk more about those in a little bit, but that's a big thing in the month of March.
April 15th is a very big date in season. That is the last date you can add players to your roster. Any date after that, they are not eligible to compete, so April 15th, it's got to be done by then.
On April 26th, the D2 and D3 regular seasons officially conclude.
Same thing with May 3rd for D1. The season ends at that point.
And that same weekend, May 1st through the 3rd, that's the D2 and D3 district and regional playoffs.
And then the following weekend, May 8th through the 10th, is D1 regional tournaments.
Then May 15th through the 17th is the NCBA Division III World Series.
And the 15th through the 19th is the Division II World Series.
And then we wrap it up the 22nd through the 28th with the Division I World Series.
Nicely done.
Yep. So now we're going to go into the next portion, which we're kind of going to give you more information about, our invitational
See you
tournaments.
guys in a little bit.
Yeah, Eric's going to step off for a little bit. I'll take care of the rest of this. The team invitational tournaments, we're seeing more and more teams do their own invitational tournaments, whether it's a 4-team, 12-team, just kind of creating their own thing as a fundraiser and get competition around the teams around you just to get everyone together and play games. If you need help with it, contact the NCBA. We can give you guidance on how we run our events and kind of give you guys insight to make it run smoothly and get as much interest as possible from NCBA teams. So this is the list of the 5 fall tournaments that the NCBA will be offering. We have the Greenville Invitational down in Greenville, South Carolina, 12 teams, which is already completely full. However, if you're interested in being put on a wait list, reach out to me. I can add you to it. Then we have Wood Wars, which is 16 wood bat tournament down in Texas. Ryan Norris runs a classy event and probably one of the best events that we have. Battle Creek Blast, that'll be up in Battle Creek, Michigan. 5th annual time for that, 12 teams. Butler County, once again, that's an 8-team wood bat tournament. Eric will be running that, so if you would want to register for that, feel free to reach out to him. And then once again, we're going back to Henderson. We took a year off last year, but we're going back this year. That'll be November 16th and 17th. If you're interested in that, reach out to Christian, and he'll be more than happy to help you. Next up is the NCBA Spring Training Showcase from this past year. We had 55 teams participate over 4 weeks. We had nearly 130 games played. Our sponsors were Hooters, Pressbox, Duke's Brewhouse, Circle K Subway, and all of our players got VIP cards, get discounts to all these restaurants. So you're paying less money, having a great experience, and getting all kinds of free stuff like Red Bull. I mean, I know the guys love their Red Bull down there. And spring training is a great way to play great competition. I mean, for example, Illinois, the Division I champion, they were down at spring training, as well as several other postseason teams, including Iowa, who also made the Division I World Series. If you want to come play great competition early in the spring and kind of get your guys ready for the year, we highly advise you guys coming down to the Spring Training Showcase. It costs some money, but fundraise. If you tell you guys, hey, we're spending a week in Tampa while playing some baseball around that, they're all for it. They can go to spring training games, go to the beach, go to Disney, whatever they want to do. It's an excellent team bonding experience while also letting your team play competitive baseball. Next up is, it's kind of, spring training is you're playing NCBA games, and like I'm down there, Tracy's down there, Alex down there, as well as other NCBA staff members. But it's a great way to have fun, play baseball, enjoying the warm weather, and just playing teams you aren't used to playing. We have Penn State that comes down every year. They're playing teams in Florida or Michigan or stuff like that they don't usually get to play. And just a chance to see where your team stacks up against the other national teams. Next up is the Henderson Showcase. We were back out there for the 3rd year, and we're continuing to grow. We started with 2 teams out there to 4, and last year we had 6, and looking to continue to grow that this upcoming year. It's a great event. I'm out there. You stay in a great casino hotel that discounted prices for our teams. Everyone out there loved it this past year, and we're looking to continue to grow it this year. Like I said, if you have questions, please reach out to me or Tracy. All of these games will count towards your NCBA record, and so it's an easy way to get your required non-conference games for postseason play. Next is the Swing into Spring and the Skeet. This is something that we just took over this past year. It's been around for a while under different management, and the NCBA finally made it sanctioned. It's an all wood bat tournament that takes place the first weekend of March. And I believe we had 11 teams this past year, and we're looking to grow that even more so this year by getting a longer weekend for it and allowing the guys to play as many games as you want to get. So like I said, it's another great chance for you guys to play NCBA sanctioned games, get your non-conference games in early, so that way all you're worrying about the rest of the season is finishing up conference play. So we're happy to announce we're going back to Tampa for the Spring Training 2020 Showcase. We will actually be releasing the registration forms this Friday. So once you guys fill those out, send them to me, send them to Tracy, and we'll officially get you guys booked. Registration is $100 for NCBA teams, $250 for non-NCBA teams, with $125 per game. It's not bad. You're not paying for umpires. You're not paying for the field. We take care of all that. We reserve it. We give you the game times. All you have to do is show up, play baseball, and it's a great thing to be a part of. The early registration is November 15th, and we cut off total reservation usually around January 1st, so that way we can finalize everything. So make sure you get that stuff in, and we look forward to seeing you guys all down in Tampa. So all of our teams are required to stay in our host hotels. We have a variety of options. I believe we had 5 this past year, from the basic hotels to luxury resorts, just seeing whatever you want to get for your team, whether it's you want to all the bells and whistles to enjoy your week, or you just want to get any hotel and go have fun. So as for your travel, reach out to Rental Car for Avis to get your vans and cars, because I know a lot of you guys won't be driving, you'll be flying in, and this is a great way to get discounted cars that waive you the under 25 fee. Now we're going to bring Christian on to talk about D3 playoffs.
Thank you, Garrett. Good job, Garrett and Eric. Well done with session one. But yeah, I want to talk about Division III district playoffs. I know we touched, Jimmy Griffiths asked about how that all works. But this past year, Division III is broken down into districts 1 through 4, 2 conferences each, and the top 2 winners of each conference, the winner of each conference moves on to the district playoff. The conference team that has the best conference winning percentage hosts those teams. So we had 4 district playoffs in 2019, just like we will in 2020. Best 2 out of 3 series. So if first 2 games are won, there's no even need. You can certainly play the 3rd game, but you're not needed to play that 3rd. Winner of those district playoffs moved on to the D3 World Series, which this past year was held in Johnstown, PA, and served as a terrific venue for our event. Talking more about Johnstown, it was our first year. It was only a 1-year contract. We didn't do a multi-year contract like we've done with Division II and Division I in the past. But yeah, played at Sargent Stadium at the Point. It's an excellent all-turf facility. I believe the mound was the only piece of the field that was dirt. And teams seemed to have loved it. I wasn't there. Garrett was there. But teams seemed to love it. It was a fantastic venue. I have been to that field before. We've had a Division II World Series played for a few years out there, and I believe 2010 and 11. So I'm familiar with it. I know it's a great venue, and I know that it seemed like the teams really enjoyed it as well. The Holiday Inn, again, I know a hotel that's right in the downtown Johnstown area. We were able to offer those great rates. It's a great location. Teams had plenty of things to do around there. So it seemed like teams, families had multiple activities to do when not at the stadium. And I think Sandy mentioned it in the opening. We've had talked about it before as well, but Millersville University, a first-year program, wins the Division III National Championship. I believe that's the first time that has ever happened. So congratulations to Millersville University, and they're now up in D2. But moving on to 2020, we don't have a home yet for that event. We are looking. Right now we're talking with Du Bois, where it was our first year in 2018. But we'll also be looking into moving to Sargent Stadium, or going back to Sargent Stadium in Johnstown. Those talks have begun. But if you have an option for a venue, you think something would be a great venue for the Division III World Series, I'd love to hear about it. You can email me at christian.smith@callclubsports.com. But again, going to be playing as a 4-team double elimination tournament hosted over a weekend. Those 4 teams are going to be the 4 district champions out of District 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, I'll reiterate, if you have any venue options that you think would be great, please let me know, and I'll certainly look into it and see if it's something feasible for the 2020 D3 World Series. I'm going to turn it over to the new D2.
Sounds good.
Garrett, after you.
So in 2019, we had 8 regional playoffs, all 8 neutral sites with the conference winners of each conference, 3 conference winners, and the 1 at-large bid representing each regional tournament. The NCBA will cover all field costs, all game balls, all umpires. Another event, you just show up and play. Teams get discounted hotels, championship plaques, opportunity to play postseason baseball, and then the winner of the regional advances to the great World Series. The 2019 D2 World Series was held in Pittsburgh, Kansas. This is the 4th year we went to Pittsburgh. All turf infield at JC Ballpark. It's a beautiful facility. I know they love having us there. We love going back. And then Lamplighter and the La Quinta, both great hotels. We used one for the players, one for the families to kind of let everyone stay together. I know there's a lot of camaraderie and teams enjoy themselves at the Lamplighter. So there's also great restaurants and nightlife all over Pittsburgh, Kansas, as it's a college town. Pitt State, the D2 World Series champion. It's their home field, their area, so the city really gets behind the event. So next is the stipends that we have available for all D2 World Series participating teams. As you can tell, we keep it stat at $5,500, and we're looking to keep it the same this upcoming year. That's spread out for all the teams that participate, and so we're looking to keep it about the same. So this will be the 5th year we go back to JC Ballpark. We're already under contract to go back to visit them. We take a number of factors when selecting our fields. The availability, the quality, does the field have lights so we can use it when there's rainouts or go late into the night? How centrally located is it for the teams? Rental costs, local attendance to show up for it, eagerness of local organizations, and do we have a track record with them? If we've been to a ballpark before, we'll most likely go back if we have a good relationship with them still. So that's a big part for our teams is, hey, show respect at the field, show respect to the city, because you're a big part on whether or not they want us to come back. So next I'm going to welcome back Eric to talk about the D1 regional tournaments.
Thank you, Garrett. We're going to talk a little D1 regional tournaments, as he was mentioning, a lot of the same stuff as Division II and Division III. So with these Division I tournaments last year in 2019, we looked to hold them at all neutral sites, which we think we did a very good job at. Many cities across the country expressed interest to us. All 8 regionals are 4-team tournaments. Teams receive discounted hotels. Also, we block off rooms for you, so we guarantee the availability, which is a nice perk for you guys. We also try and block rooms off for your parents, family, friends at exclusive rates to make it easy for you guys, just because you should only be worrying about playing baseball and playing on the field. So we try and put that on a tee for you as much as possible. Championship trophies, additional games with no field or umpire costs. Like I was saying, you guys shouldn't worry about that. It's the playoffs. It's our job to host you guys and accommodate you guys. And lastly, the opportunity to compete in the postseason. As we've been saying, majority of the night, if you guys have any good recommendations for fields in your guys' area, perhaps you went to high school somewhere that has a nice field, your college that you're at now, maybe fields around your area, shoot them our way. We'd like to learn about them. You can never know about enough good fields in the area, especially turf. It's always good to have in our back pocket. So the 2019, last year, our Division I World Series was in Holly Springs, North Carolina. It was our 3rd year there. Ting Stadium, for those who have never been there or seen pictures, it's a state-of-the-art stadium, and it's an absolute gem. Practice facilities were great, gave the teams the opportunity to get some infield, outfield in, a little BP before their games. The Homewood Suites was outstanding accommodations for us. Like we were saying at the regional level, we work exclusive discounts for you guys, get you guys that availability to guarantee that you guys have that, because obviously if you're winning your regional playoff a week and a half before, it's going to be hard for you to plan and turn around in that short period of time. So we try and make it as easy as possible for you guys. Good restaurants and nightlife. It's very close to Raleigh, so there's a lot to do around there, which is good for you guys because our Division I World Series is longer than any other event, so you'll have some downtime. So it's good for you to have some things to do away from the park. City once again rolled out the red carpet for you teams. Yeah, they love our event. They put the bells and whistles into it to make it the best experience possible. And I think we have a question.
Brandon Knorr from Maryland wants to know, with Pitt State moving up to D1, if the location will change to somewhere easier like Chicago or Atlanta with more flight connections.
If you're referencing the Division II World Series this coming year, as Garrett was mentioning earlier, we're under contract. It's our final year of the contract in Pittsburgh, Kansas. After that point, we're obviously open to bids. We like the relationship we have in Pittsburgh, Kansas. We've been there for 4 years prior to this. It'll be our 5th year coming up. But that's not to say we can't find a better opportunity somewhere else. We just need to know about it. So that's why we keep saying if you guys have any good leads on facilities, send them our way. This is bold, and as Christian and Sandy mentioned earlier, the live video broadcast of all games, we took a huge step in our 19th year, our 19th World Series. Fans, players, when they weren't even playing at the field, anyone could tune in, listen to Ryan Norris on the simulcast, live video broadcast. It was an amazing feature that I know a lot of people took advantage of, and we're really excited. It's only going to get better. So that was a really nice step in the right direction for us. And lastly, obviously, University of Illinois claimed its first ever national championship, and they defeated Grand Canyon in a great game. It was a great week. It was a great tournament, and hats off to Illinois. 2019 D1 World Series, as Garrett was mentioning, it's same idea in Division II. $7,500 is what we give to you guys. It's our gift. We know how expensive these trips are. Some of you are flying, some of you are driving. You got hotel costs, rentals. This is our way of saying, we appreciate everything you do. Let us try and help. This is prorated on your distance, so obviously the teams coming farther get a little bit more. But it's been $7,500. We're excited it hasn't gone down, and we get the question, hey, why is it increasing? With Division III opening up a couple years ago, a lot of our resources have gone into Division III to pick up and try and help that grow. So the important thing on our end is that money's not going down. $7,500 is not decreasing, and we'll look to increase it in future years. So I don't think we were talking in the office. We're not sure if we've made this official yet, but 2020, we're heading back to Holly Springs, North Carolina. It's our 4th straight year. As you can see in that picture, the field is absolutely beautiful. A lot of the factors that go into it, just to name a few, field availability. A lot of people don't realize what we need from a field. We need exclusive use for the entire week. We can't be working around other parties, especially with weather comes into play. We have to have exclusive use, and that's a big thing. It's hard to get, and we're really fortunate to have it in Holly Springs. Venue quality, that kind of speaks for itself. It's fully turf. It's beautiful. It's got a grandstand. It's covered, press box, all the bells and whistles you can think about. Lights, that goes without saying. Rental costs, it's great for us because it's affordable, so we have the opportunity to put it on for you guys. Local attendance, we've had a lot of great local attendance throughout the years, which makes the event more fun and a better experience for everybody. And as I touched on earlier, the eagerness of local organizers. They want us there. They value our event. They put in the time and the resources to make it successful and really increase that experience for everybody, parents, family, friends included. Track record, we've been there 3 straight years. We're happy there. They're happy with us, so we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna move to session 3, sponsors and fundraising. You'll hear from myself, Felicia, and Alec. We'll talk about our current sponsors, the discounts, the requirements, and just some general information about stuff that we can offer you guys. We'll talk a little Rawlings, fundraiser, Motel 6, Marucci, the game, and Avis. The first one on the docket is fundraiser, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Tracy Reardon, who's our sponsor account manager. She basically assists all you guys. She's the middleman between us and fundraiser to help you guys take advantage of the opportunity. So what is fundraiser? It's very similar to a lot of the other platforms you see. I know you'll probably say GoFundMe, but fundraiser is way better in the sense that it's more personable. You have us as a resource to help you with it. And shout out to Brandon Noah. I know you're tuning in on Facebook asking questions. As you can see, these Maryland guys, they raised literally over $10,000 in a week, which is crazy because they made the World Series, and a week later they needed funds to help cover their expenses to the World Series. It's very easy. You basically just share it online. Our teams raised almost $56,000 last year. It's easy. Send the emails out to your family, your friends, your teammates to send out. Post it on your Twitter accounts, post it on Facebook, anywhere and everywhere. It's easy. People go online and they just make online donations. It's free to you. It takes a matter of 10 to 15 minutes to set up, and you guys can do it up on your page. You can put videos on there. You can put a little paragraph of why you need the money. No matter if it's the World Series, the postseason, maybe you need new uniforms, maybe you need anything from equipment to field time to umpires when you want to go to spring training. Any and all of the above that you can need money for, it's relevant too. So it's a great opportunity, and I highly recommend reaching out to Tracy about it. How to ask a question, basically in that little box right there, type your name, your team affiliation into the comments, and we'll get it answered for you. So let's talk some travel. Motel 6 in Avis. Myself is handling the account for right now, and if you need my contact information, it's right there. Motel 6 is the official lodging partner in the NCBA. You guys get a 10% discount. I know there's 0 of you who are not traveling this year. Everybody's got away games, and I guarantee you there's a Motel 6 in your area, and you guys are on a budget, save some money, and it's a great opportunity for you guys. So reach out to that. We have a portal through that link below. It's a great opportunity for you guys. Take advantage of it. Look into it. If you don't use it, that's fine too, but it's a great resource for you guys to use. Same with Avis. A lot of the big value with them is they waive the under 25 fee. Most of you, 90% of you are under 25. And if you were to go rent a car right now from any other agency, they would charge you a pretty hefty fee for being under 25. So with Avis, we're partnering with them. They waive that fee, which helps you save costs. And they also give you guys exclusive discounts on 12 passenger vans, 15 passenger vans, or cars, or whatever else you may need. So that's the big value with them, and I think it's a pretty important value for you guys, especially when you can save money and rent cars being under 25. They do have a nice Avis Preferred program you guys can sign up for. It takes a matter of minutes. It helps you accumulate points and get free rentals along the way. Ask a question, team name, affiliation, what your question may be. We'll get it answered for you. Equipment sponsors, we'll talk Rawlings, The Game, New Balance, Marucci. You'll hear some from some new faces in the office, some old faces, and we'll talk everything about equipment and the discounts that you guys get. So Rawlings sponsor account manager. Trent's info is on here. A lot of you guys have heard from him already. He's our guy in-house. He works for the NCBA full-time. He will be putting in your orders, answering questions, price quotes. He can help you design jerseys. He can do literally everything for you. As we've been saying earlier, it's free to reach out to him. Get a price quote, look into it, ask questions. Some of you guys might be stuck in the ways have you done in the past. You go to a mom and pop shop, you go to a local shop, whatever it may be. Reach out to him. You never know what you're going to find. You never know what the pricing may be. It's great quality. You get huge discounts. Official baseball, $50 per dozen. A little tongue-tied there. And $36.60 per dozen for practice balls. Great pricing. Obviously, you're going to need those NCBA Rawlings baseballs. Order more, especially if you play at a field that loses foul balls, or maybe you play in the fall or early in the spring with bad weather, or you just want to be safe because you can be penalized for not having enough baseballs. So it's great pricing. Reach out to Trent, and he'll get you going. So on the uniform front, big discount, 45% off through November 30th. D1, and this is brand new this year. I know Garrett's been pushing it hard, just so you guys are aware. D2 teams join D1 teams in the fact that they have to have 2 sets of uniforms this year. That is a big deal. Hopefully you guys are all aware of it. Make note of it. And a great way to take advantage of having to get a second uniform is the 45% off you get from Rawlings. Reach out to him. He'll give you some price quotes. He'll get you going. Trent's information's all there too. And all the billing, everything is handled through our office. It's easy. You're not dealing with Rawlings. You're not dealing with a big corporate office. Everything's on a personal level, so it's more efficient for you guys. They have a great uniform builder. Shout out to Alec. I see him pumping his fist for the Mules in the middle there, Central Missouri alum. It's a great resource for you guys to use. It's actually kind of fun when you think about it. You can go in there, you can start designing a uniform. You can see it right in front of your face. You can rotate it all around. You can add piping. You can take away stuff, add stuff. And the beauty with this, you start sending Trent price quotes, and he'll start telling you, well, if you do this instead, you can save money. Or, if you wanted to add piping, it's going to add more costs to it. So you can get a more personable realization of what costs you're getting into by what you do and what garments you use and what models and all that good stuff. Here's some more options on the sublimated custom jerseys. They have a lot to offer. Everything from the full button downs to the V-neck to the pullovers to the sublimated stuff. All different kinds of fonts. It's all customizable. If you have specific school licensing stuff that you want to work within, Rawlings can do it. All your logos, all your custom text, everything they can do for you guys. They also do all of our equipment and apparel, and it's on the same exact discount plan as our uniforms. So order through before November 30th, you get your 45% off. That's a big way, easy way to save money. And it's the same thing as uniforms. It's all customizable. Everything from polos to shorts to hoodies to pullovers to batting cage jackets to anything you can think of really apparel-wise. So reach out to him. It gets decorated for you, and it'll be there within 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm getting yelled at for not holding up the jerseys, which I forgot. Here's just some stuff that we have in-house. We have everything from cost-effective models to your higher-end full button-down, full craziness with the logos, different colors, sublimated, everything. Whatever your budget is, Trent can work within it, and we can make it work for you guys on a personal level. So that's one jersey, and this is one of the nice ones. University of Virginia is a big advocate. Their NCAA team is all Rawlings. This is a really cool jersey that we have in office. I know this is probably not doing it justice, but it's a very cool graphite. It's very light, and as we were saying, you can do anything with the text, the piping, anything that you want to do. Basically, you can do it. So all Division I and Division II teams will receive a full set of catcher's gear or any combination of 8 batting helmets, and that Survey Monkey will be going out next week. It takes no more than 10 to 15 minutes. You tell us where to ship your stuff, along with your baseball and bats. But you'll make your selections of everything, and we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. Some of those performance items, as I was saying, performance shirts, shorts, compression shirts, shorts, sweatshirts, polos, jackets, pants. All items are available to be decorated, and everything is handled in-house. There's just some pictures of some items you can see for apparel. And just to touch on the equipment again, everybody gets a 45% discount through November 31st, and the discount drops to 35% from December 1st through June 30th. So it's a nice way to save an additional 10% on the already big discount you're getting if you order through November 31st. So, New Balance, you guys have probably seen this in the past. We had a couple stores out this past year. New Balance offered exclusive pricing to our teams, 25% off. We had it through a short window. I think one in the fall, one in the spring. We're working on the details right now to get you that opportunity again this year, because I know it worked out well and a lot of guys took advantage of that. So just be on the lookout for that in the future. All right, we'll talk the game and some hats. We'll bring up Felicia here.
Thanks, Eric. These hats down here. Hello. For any of you that I haven't met yet, that is a new team, welcome to the league. For the rest of the teams, I have a pretty cool job. I get to talk to everyone, whether you're D1, D2, or D3. I'm your person for hats. I talk to you at least once a year. You let me know whether you need them, whether you don't need them. I know D2 has a new rule this year where you have 2 sets of jerseys for home and away. So I have a feeling that I'm going to hear from a lot of you about needing a second hat order this year. But I am responsible for making sure that you guys have what you need for your headwear. As you know, the game is your official headwear sponsor, and it's my job to find out what you need for the season, to help you get a design together, get that over to them to get some artwork. We get you invoiced. I handle all of the billing, and once we get an order placed, we get some official artwork in, and you have a chance then to approve it or to adjust it if there's something else you want to do with it. If it comes back and you just really decide you don't like that particular color, you can adjust it at that point too. Once you have approved it, then I throw it back to the game. They then submit it to your school's licensing department. A lot of teams don't know that you are licensed. There's different licensing companies that handle your schools. Some schools handle it internally, but before a hat can go into production, they have to be approved legally in order to have a logo on the front. Once the game gets them approved, then we go into production. There are different types of hats. There are stock hats and there are custom hats. Stock hats is something that comes as is. You can pick from different models on the website. The website is thegameheadwear.com. You can pick the different colors and styles that they have available. You do get to choose the logo that you want on the front of them, and you can choose the color of the NCBA logo that you want on the back. And I can show you because that's really important. All of our NCBA hats, they have our official logo on the back, right above the bottom of the hat. Whether it's a snapback or it's a full back, that's where the NCBA logo goes. But you do get to pick that. Stock hats are the fastest way to go. They only take about 10 days after all of the artwork has been approved. Custom hats, which are really cool, but they take a lot longer to design because you can pick the color of the crown, you can pick the visor, you get to pick the eyelets, and you get to pick the button. So you get to design whether you want a flat bill or you want it curved, if you want a full crown or if you want it a little bit smaller, for if you have some guys that have heads that are a little smaller. If that's the case, then you want to go custom. Once those get approved, the artwork gets approved, then those take about 4 to 6 weeks for production. So you want to get a jump start on designing those as soon as possible. Now, we do have an early order discount sale. That's going on right now until November 15th. You get an additional $2 off the already low price that we have to offer you. I would encourage you to take advantage of that. I know all of our returning teams to the league, they already are in compliance. We have 100% compliance, which is awesome. But I know a lot of you need some reorders for new guys that are coming on. Maybe someone damaged a hat. Maybe you want to do a friends and family sale to do a little fundraiser, or maybe you need to get that second hat order in now that you have a uniform change. Either way, if you want to go custom, the earlier you get me a design, the better. That sale goes until November 15th, and that's for an extra $2 off. After that period, come the end of November, December time, that's what I would call in season because of the holidays and production schedules. You're not going to get those hats until closer to the start of the season or after the season has started. So the sooner you get the ball rolling, the better. As said before, custom hats take 4 to 6 weeks just for production. Stock take about 10 to 15 for production. And none of this can happen until after the artwork's been approved. There are a handful of schools out there that we do not have licenses for, but you have a few options that you can do. You can go with some blank stock hats or blank custom hats where you get to choose the colors and the design, everything that you want, but we just can't put that front logo on. If you are one of those schools, we have some different options for you, and we can cross that bridge whenever we come to it because there's only a handful of them that we don't. If you go to design a hat, you go to thegameheadwear.com. You can put a design together. You email it directly to me from the site. As soon as I get it, I can price it out for you and help you with any of the tweaking you need to do. If you have trouble positioning your logo on the front, that's no problem. You could just email that to me as a PDF, and I can have that uploaded and have some artwork done. We also have some off-the-field headwear. I have a boonie here, which, as you can see, I got it wet. I spilled some water on it. We sell these for spring training. The teams seem to really like them. We also have some teams that got their own logo put on the front of them. They come in many different colors, and these are also on sale for an additional $2 off as well. And then there's also some beanies that you guys, if you're interested in them, I could help you out with. This is an example of a perforated hat. It has the sides on the side. Teams that are in the South, if you have really hot climates, the guys seem to like these. Help get some breathing in there. So yes, you can go to thegameheadwear.com to check out their full selection of on and off the field hats. Shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm on the go a lot, so email is usually the best way to get me. Keep in mind that I handle the entire league, so I promise I will get back to you. New teams, if you're new to the league, if you're playing in the fall, please reach out to me as soon as possible because I believe that starts September 15th. Is that right? Yes. So you're probably going to have to go with stock. I have a feeling that most of the new teams don't start till the spring, but still you want to get a jump start on that as soon as possible to make sure you have all of your headwear in time to start the season. But yeah, you can reach out to me by email at felicia.battaglia@coldclubsports.com, or my phone number is 412-321-8440. I'm extension 107, and I'd be happy to help you with any way I can to get these hats done. I'm going to turn this over to Alec for Marucci.
Thank you, Felicia. I've been sitting doing questions this whole time waiting for my 5 minutes of fame, so here it is. As she said, I'm Alec Veerhoff. I'm the Marucci Sponsor Account Manager. Basically what I do is I handle all the contact with the teams regarding Marucci, also our Marucci reps as well. So Marucci is the official baseball bat of the NCBA. As they were talking about earlier, all the teams in our league receive 2 complimentary bats. They get one Cat 8 and one Cat 8 Connect. Basically, the difference between those two is a 1-piece and a 2-piece bat. Like they were talking about earlier, the white barrel bats are now outlawed. So Marucci will be sending you a new design. It's a black barrel. It's a red and black design. Really cool looking. It's different considering they've been a white barrel bat their whole time of existence. They do have those on our website as well, so you can check those out there. Also, the equipment survey Eric was talking about, that'll be sent out in the near future within the next couple weeks or so. That's basically your opportunity to tell us what size of bat you want and an address to ship that to. So once those go out, please complete it ASAP so you can get your bats as soon as possible as well. All NCBA teams, they have access to our team store, which has exclusive pricing. It's pricing that's so discounted, so low that you have to have a passcode to get into it. You can see it below. It's maruccisports.itemfinder.com with the passcode of NCBA 2018. There you can buy any other BB Core aluminum bats, composite, wood, and fungo are all available. They have gloves, batting gloves, sunglasses, pretty much any other miscellaneous item you could think of. So feel free to share that with your with the players on your team, because really we don't have access to all the players on your team's contact information, so that is up to you to pass that along to them. So please do that. Give them some business there. I'm going to hand things back over to Christian here, who's going to wrap things up.
Thank you, Alec. And all of our sponsors, please try and utilize them as much as possible. They support our league quite a bit. So if you can, support them. Rawlings uniforms, the game headwear, which you're required to wear. But Marucci, you got such great discounts on additional bats, but I know our teams have loved those. So almost closed out here, guys. If you stuck with us the entire 2 hours and 51 minutes, we really appreciate that. Last person I want to talk about is Ben Karpinski. He didn't get any FaceTime, but he's put a ton of work into making this production as professional looking as possible. I know we've done quite a bit of upgrades from last year, so he's been doing fantastic ever since he's started with us. But yeah, he's going to be a guy that when available, he's going to be managing and promoting, our social networking, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, getting stuff on there, making sure our presence is felt. He's also directing the Suite 301 episodes. I believe his first one was last month, and again, just had a lot of great visual upgrades to that. And then he's also distributing and writing the scouting report, which is our monthly newsletter. And again, much better format than in years previous or in months previous. So he's been doing great, and we're really happy to have Big Ben on board. And that's our show. Thank you so much for coming, tuning in tonight. We hope that you found this information informative. If you have any questions that you think of later, please follow up with us, and we will certainly get you an answer. Just some things I want to touch on before we close out. Promote the league and the website. Tell family, friends, check us out. A lot of people might not know what club baseball is. So I think it'd be great for all teams to really promote our league and our website, get as many fans to club baseball as possible. Touched on it a little bit before, but our sponsors, they do so much for our leagues, financially giving some money for us to help put on great events. The more that our teams utilize those sponsors, the more likely they'll want to stick with us and invest in our company more in the future. So make sure to use those sponsors. Make sure to stick to the disc or save on the discounts when the discount periods are going on. If an issue arises, we need to know. You guys are the eyes and ears, and we're in here again in Pittsburgh. You guys are all across the country playing games. If there's issues, please let us know. Please get in touch with us. We need to know those things so we can help correct them moving forward. No question needs to go unanswered. A lot of people might not, the adage, no stupid questions. There isn't. I mean, if you're thinking of the question, I'm sure a lot of other guys are thinking of the question. So don't be scared to ask it. Give us a call. All of our information is on the websites. I know our information is listed on our email signatures, cell phones, office lines, the fax number if you want to send a fax. I don't know why you would want to send a fax for a question, but if you wanted to, you could. But yeah, please reach out to us. Our websites have a contact page where you can write the contact or your question in the contact, and we will get back to you really quickly on that. Keeping the lines of communication open, that's a very big thing. We need, and that goes back to the registration form and having updated contact information for your team. We need to make sure that we're communicating. There's a lot, especially now, tons of important information going out. So you need to make sure you're checking your emails regularly, because we are going to be communicating quite a bit with you, and we need to make sure those lines of communication are open. Goes without saying, but please be prompt in meeting deadlines. The LPA's schedule requests, when we're putting those deadlines on, we hope that you will meet those deadlines, so that's very important. And the last thing I will mention, it's kind of awkward doing it by myself. Normally I have somebody else to do it with me, but it's a game. Have fun.